A massive immigration enforcement operation in southeast Texas netted over 800 illegal immigrants, including gang members, convicted murderers, child predators, and foreign fugitives, according to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The agency said 330 of those arrested have previously been ordered removed from the United States, and approximately 112 were previously deported and illegally re-entered the United States at least once. Among the files made public by the House Oversight Committee this week, it's a glossy 238-page scrapbook that offers a rare and unusually intimate glimpse of Jeffrey Epstein's self-curated network. It's the infamous birthday book that was compiled by Ghislaine Maxwell in 2003 and includes what appears to be notes from former President Bill Clinton, Alan Dershowitz, as well as photographs, animals, children's drawings, and politicians. Among the book's entries is an apparent note from Bill Clinton where he praises Epstein's, quote, childlike curiosity, end quote, and his drive to make a difference. Our quote of the day, Christ said, I am the truth. He did not say, I am the custom. Saint Toribio. And coming up, our saint of the day. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
When most people hear the word coffee, they conjure up visions of a ceramic mug in the palm of both hands and a woman slowly sipping. This isn't a Folgers commercial. It's for Capuchin Holy Roast, and here's how I take mine. With a dash of vanilla, a pinch of cinnamon, a spoonful of honey, and lots of heavy cream. Add some ice, shake, and then enjoy, while knowing that's $6 the libs at Starbucks can't spend to ruin my life and yours.
Capuchin Holy Roast in whole bean or grind is available at shop.mychurch.com.
Hey, Lee, you know, we've known each other for a bit now. I just wonder, what do you really love to do?
I love posting civilization-saving threads on X.com, but I get so tired of outrage porn scrolling my medulla has gone oblong blanca.
Well, I know just the thing. Pour an iced Capuchin Holy Roast coffee, put your earbuds in, and catch 2 hours of suspense, the greatest of all mystery, horror, and whodunit classic radio serials.
Perfect. While you were talking, I completely forgot who Jack Posobiec was.
Catch all 900-plus episodes of Suspense every weekday from noon to 2 p.m. East on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com. Live talk and classic radio.
The way it should be.
Our saint of the day is Saint Nicholas of Tolentino. He was born in 1245 in St. Angelo and took the name from St. Nicholas of Myra, at whose shrine his parents prayed to have a child. He gained a reputation as a preacher and a confessor, and in about 1274, he was sent to Tolentino near his birthplace. The town suffered from civil strife between the Guelphs, who supported the Pope, and the Ghibellines, who supported the Holy Roman Emperor in their struggle for control of Italy. Nicholas was primarily a pastor to his flock. He ministered to the poor and the criminal. He is said to have cured the sick with bread over which he had prayed to Mary, the Mother of God. He gained a reputation as a wonder worker and died in 1305 after a long illness. People began immediately to petition for his canonization. Eugene IV canonized him in 1446, and his relics were rediscovered in 1926 at Tolentino. Deep in the Earth's past, an icy landscape became a seascape as the ice melted and the oceans rose off what is now the northeastern United States. Nearly 50 years ago, reports the New York Post, a U.S. government ship searching for minerals and hydrocarbons in the area drilled into the seafloor to see what it could find. Then it found, of all things, drops to drink under the briny deeps. In other words, fresh water. So this summer, a first-of-its-kind global research expedition followed up on that surprise, and drilling for fresh water under the salt water off Cape Cod, Expedition 501 extracted thousands of samples from what is now thought to be a massive hidden aquifer, stretching from New Jersey as far north as Maine. It's just one of the many depositories of secret fresh water known to exist in shallow salt waters around the world that might someday be tapped to satisfy the planet's intensifying thirst, said one of the expedition's co-chief scientists. I'm Janet Huxley for the Crusade Channel, seeking news and finding truth.
The Crusade Channel, your talk podcast and Fiorella Files station.
Fiorella is the literary savage who skips sensitivity training. She is the librarian who reads and reviews books so you don't have to.
Hello and welcome to the Fiorella Files. On my show, I will be introducing you to books, classic and contemporary, that you must read, should enjoy reading, or should not touch with an 11-foot barge pole.
10 to 11 a.m. Central, every Monday on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio.
The way it should be.
There's some days when I gotta remind myself of the Wolfman Jack Creed. Before we come in here and do this show, we're in the smiles business, baby, we're in the smiles business. Because it's difficult to be in the smiles business some days. Today is a day. Greetings to you. It's the Mike Church Show on the Crusade Channel. We are live asking the question of the day.
What in the wide, wide world of sports is going on here?
Well, I'll tell you.
In order to ensure the security and continuing stability, the Republic will be reorganized into the First Galactic Empire.
righty, our call-in line telephone number, if you'd like to be on the program today, 844-527-8723, 844-5-CRUSADE. Email address, same as it ever hath. Email address, same as it ever hath been. I am KingDude at protonmail.com. And Crusader Stadium chat room is open for your commentary at crusadechannel.com/chat. So, wow, it's a Wisdom Wednesday. Today is the feast of St. Nicholas of Tolentino. It's a pretty warm day here in the deep south that is New Orleans today. And today is another day where we will have a bounty of intellectual jousting over this, that, and the other, and about the importance of this and the lack of importance of that, and about how Trump is scamming us to do this. This is all, everything would be right but Trump. This is Trump's fault. Well, if it weren't for Trump, guy's the most powerful man in the history of the human race, apparently. Even when he's not somewhere, he's somewhere. Even when he isn't physically there, someone that he met sometime in the past is there, and it's all his fault. Well, let me tell you something that's not Trump's fault. The murder of Irina Zarutska is not Trump's fault. It's not MAGA's fault. It's not Trump's fault. It's not the Republican Party's fault. It's not the Constitution's fault. It's the fault of DeCarlos Brown Jr. and the monster-coddling lunatics, irresponsible, reckless citizens that made, coddled, cultivated a, quote, citizen, close quote, like him. That's whose fault it is. Here's the grim realization that you should come to over your niacinamide poison Cheerios today. There's probably a couple thousand more DeCarlos Brown Jr.'s out there right now. My daughters ride the trains in New York and in Boston. I know they won't answer the phone if I call them, but they will read text messages these days. So I texted both of them. I got one affirmative and a call back, and I assumed that the other one, who's busy planning a wedding, saw what I had just messaged her, which is stay off the trains. Don't let anybody guilt trip you, white guilt trip you into riding that damn train. If you need $15, $20 for an Uber and you don't have it, just call me. I'll give you a card number. Don't ride the damn train alone. Now, if you're in a group of people, or you're with Ben or with Jack, or you got somebody or one of your friends is with you, and you're not traveling alone, and you have some situational awareness, okay. Any port in a storm, train is not in and of itself bad, but it's the element of what's on it. You know, think of the idea of public transportation for just a moment. Public transportation. Well, what does that mean? Well, when the dude is cruising along Main Street in your little hamlet, and he has his little sign off on his dashboard that says Uber driver or Lyft driver, does he have to stop and pick anyone up because they want a ride? Is he under does he have a responsibility? Is there a law or a legal compulsion that says because he's driving down Main Street and there is someone on Main Street who needs to leave Main Street or needs to get much further down Main Street and needs a ride, well, you have a ride. Do you have to stop and pick that guy or that person up? Does the Uber driver have to stop? And the answer is, of course, no. The Uber driver doesn't have to stop. Well, why is that? Well, because, the finance company owns the car, but he's the guy that signed to pay the note on it because it's his vehicle. It's an extension of his home, as they say in law. And so, therefore, the Uber driver is not under any responsibility to pick anyone up. He doesn't have to perform the feat of a train that acts as public transportation does. But you see, as long as you have something called public transportation, well, then you can't deny, unless it's a really extreme circumstance, you can't deny public transportation service to anyone. Which means any wacko, any serial killer, any murderer, any rapist, any jihadi that can buy a ticket and can go through the turnstile can get on the train. You know, you think of the things that have just in recent memory, the July 11th, 2007, when they blew up the tube in London? Wasn't that I want to say it was July. It was either July 7th or July 11th. It was in July. Remember the pair of jihadi nutcases got on trains with backpacks and nearly simultaneously detonated a pair of very large ordnance bombs that blew, a half a dozen subway cars and the London, they call it the Tube, in the Tube to Kingdom Come, and 50 some odd people with them. You remember that? That happened on a train. So why am I bringing all this up? Alex Jones got a hold of the actual video. Properly, it's in the proper, the version that they were showing was, I'm trying to, and I know the word because I'm a graphic artist, the aspect ratio was incorrect. The video that they were showing was taller than it was wide, skewing the image. And so it made the creep look taller, and it made the little girl made her look skinnier, basically. Because you look at the original images, you go like, why is she so skinny? Well, she's not. So she's skinny, but she's not that skinny. So Jones got a hold of the actual CCTV that has the 16:9 aspect ratio, which is pretty much what your HD television has today. The picture was pretty clear, and it was a correct aspect ratio, so you get the heights of everybody and a pretty accurate representation of what went on that train on August the 22nd. As Irina Zarutska was making her way home after tossing some pizzas. Think of this. That pork, it just said, if I start going Glenn Beck, I'll just kill the mic for a second here because I watched that video last night. Ms. Church said they just released the entire video, and I said, what entire video? And she said the video of the murder of that girl. And then Ms. Church had watched it, and she said something to the effect, do you want to see it? And of course, I said, yeah, okay, of course. The life-changing experience. I don't think that I've ever physically with my own eyes seen an actual murder take place. In other words, I don't think I've seen the events surrounding them. And, there has been some video footage. We have seen some people kind of that you've seen, like the lunatic that walked up behind the healthcare company's CEO and shot him in the back of the head. They had at least one camera angle of that guy as he was approaching that dude. But nothing like this. This is like a Kubrick film. This is literally like watching The Shining. And the part where the elevator doors open and the ocean of blood comes out. It's don't watch it. If If you're tempted to go and find it and watch it, just take my advice and my word. Don't watch it. So I watched it. Well, I started watching it because all the news networks had been cutting the video where DeCarlos Brown Jr. plunges the flip knife into, we can now see the chest of Irina Zarutska. So you can, so if you watch the video now you wonder, well, how did she die so quickly? I mean, he stabbed her 3 times. It looks from the video, he got her once in the jugular, or near enough to it. But the fatal wound, the one that killed her, was the one that probably pierced her heart. Literally pierced that baby's heart, that child's heart. They keep calling her a child because she was just a waif. She was a little skinny thing. But this is the worst part. After he stabs her, she looks up like, why? Why did you do this? She knows, her soul knows it's over. She looks at him in shock and disbelief and then in horror as he's standing above her, mumbling whatever insane whatever he was mumbling. And then he paces around a little bit, and then he goes to the next car on the train. The poor child is sitting there by herself. And it's then that she realizes, oh my God, I'm bleeding. Because the 3 hits are, it's 3 blows, literally in 1.5 seconds. So first she reaches, it's like watching the Zapruder JFK film. First she reaches for her throat. And then looks down at her hand and sees that her hand is now crimson red. Then the nerves kick in and she realizes she has been stabbed in the chest. And it's then that she reaches for her chest and starts to push as the blood is now pouring everywhere. Need to get that video right there, Maggie, of them taking that fat cracker illegal alien criminal trespasser down. That it took 4 heavily armed flak jacket ICE officers to subdue that guy, as they pulled him over in a traffic stop and asked him politely to get out of the car. In any event, so that she realizes that she has been stabbed in the chest, and she reaches for her chest, and then apparently he must have severed her trachea. She can't speak. So she looks to this woman who is sitting directly across from her. And the look, this is where you're going to tear up and you're just going to lose it, folks. Moms, don't watch this. You'll ruin your life, not your day, your life. She is looking to this woman as if to say, please, I'm dying, help me. But she can't speak because he's cut her throat, and she has literally a hole pierced through her heart. And she looks at this woman for, I don't know what, 5 seconds? Maybe 10. And she looks behind the woman to another man and looks at him like, please, sir, would you please help me? This is what I just can't do it. Imagine this is your daughter. And I can't. And I don't want to. She looks at these 2 fellow riders, passengers on the train, and alleged human beings. I don't know if they could have saved her. They could have held her hand while she died. Yep. Could have helped pray with her while she died, since she couldn't. And it's then that the hole in Irina's heart is the fatal blow, and she can no longer remain erect, and she falls over in her train chair, in the seat that she's sitting in, which will now be her tomb. You watch the video. You can see that the blood from this child's body is now spilling onto the floor, and she's on an elevated seat, and below her seat is a doorway, is an entranceway. So she's on a deck of sorts. You can now see the Stanley Kubrick River of Shining Blood now flowing like a little red waterfall off the edge of that deck down to the train floor below. It's at that point in time where the train makes a stop. The woman who's seated across from her picks her bag up and runs, literally runs. The guy who's sitting behind her exits to the car behind that car, gets the hell out of Dodge. The third man, who has been standing there the whole time, filming her death, does nothing. It's not until the Good Samaritan gets on the train, the young black man, who sees the blood and he goes like, what the hell? And he looks over and then he sees Irina, and he drops everything and drags her body to the center of the train car and starts pushing on her chest, screaming, call 911, somebody help, trying to stop the bleeding. We don't know when the souls leave bodies and when people die. You can hope that that one last act of kindness that young Irina knew that someone on that train was going to help her. This is the worst part. The aftermath is the worst part. The stabbing is horrific. It's terrifying. It's horrifying. But the aftermath and the apathy of fellow citizens. That little girl came to the United States thinking people like the Good Samaritan who tried to save her life were everywhere. And yet when she needed it most at the end of her life, there was no one to be found. Just a bunch of apathetic louts. I want to know, and I don't know this, if you leave the scene of an automobile accident in the state of Louisiana, it's a felony. If you're driving behind someone, and let's just say it's a stop sign, and that someone goes through a stop sign, and somebody coming from the other direction runs the stop sign and T-bones the car in front of you, if you witness it and you don't stop and you leave the scene, it's a felony. I want to know, is it a felony to leave the scene of a murder? Number one, you were a witness to it, ma'am. Number two, you could have grabbed that child's hand. You could have tried to help stop the bleeding. And what did you do? All you were worried about was your bag. Sir, that stood there filming it. You too. Dude in the back seat, you can clearly see watching the whole thing. You three. Lock them up.
In a world more and more infiltrated with fake news, AI-generated slop, isn't it great knowing that Crusade Channel News is still researched, written, and performed by actual humans?
Hey, what are you doing in here?
Oh no. Get your hands off of me. You chipped my chip.
Boys, break it up. Jeez. Catch Crusade Channel News weekday mornings on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and podcast radio the way it should be.
No AI was harmed in the making of this radio content. We hope to next time.
Hello, Crusaders. I'm Janet Huxley at the Crusade Channel News Desk with your Crusade Crucials for Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. This report brought to you by the 2ALibertyWatchCompany.com. Watches that express your love of the Second Amendment, American liberty, and President Trump, all beautifully crafted and endorsed by Mike Church. Shop their stylish line of watches today at 2AWatchCompany.com. In the market report, the Dow closed up 0.43%, and the S&P was up again as well, 0.27%. NASDAQ climbed 0.37%. Today, on September the 10th, in National Day Calendar News, it was the first day in 1955 that Gunsmoke premiered on TV, and by 1984, the first episode of the game show Jeopardy! Starring Alex Trebek aired. It's also National TV Dinner Day. The first Swanson TV dinner consisted of a Thanksgiving meal of turkey, cornbread dressing, peas, and sweet potatoes. In 1962, Swanson stopped using the name TV Dinner. Now, it's any prepackaged dinner purchased frozen from a store and heated at home. It's also National Swap Ideas Day. And our quote of the day is, Christ said, I am the truth. He did not say, I am the custom. Saint Toribio. And our saint of the day is Saint Nicholas of Tolentino. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
While Trump continues to try and make America great again
by doing Mortal Kombat with the Clinton, Comey, and Clapper crime families.
You forgot the...
Nope, did not. And the king of Russia treason, the Obama father.
Well, we'll always be there for you with the best live coverage and commentary in media on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on CrusadeChannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio.
The way it should be.
America's historian, America's morning show, the Mike Church Show, is on. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at mypillow.com/KingDude. For the best night's sleep in the whole wide world, visit mypillow.com/KingDude. And it is a cruel summer in Charlotte, North Carolina. If you're in the Crusader Stadium chat room, Maggie O'Connell has I'm not even in there, so I just, because I was uploading the video to the video page, so it has a miniature version of it, so I kind of see what's going on. Maggie, can you tell our listeners, because I just joined the chat, there's a guy that's there with a McDonald's uniform on, you say, or a McDonald's shirt, of the people that you can plainly see in the video.
If you're looking at the Alex Jones video, if you go to 4 minutes and 21 seconds in, there is a person. I cannot determine if it's a male or a female because they've got a little stocking cap on, but they're clearly wearing a McDonald's employment T-shirt with black slacks and black shoes. So that looks to me an employee. He or she walks up, records.
Oh, I see it now.
Her bleeding out, and then exits the train.
Look at the blood on the floor and the screen cap that you put in there. Top left. See it? Yeah, I know. That is Irina Zarutska's blood. He walks up, plainly pulls his phone out. You can see the image that he's recording. Is it a she? Okay, that's a black cap of some sort. That is definitely a McDonald's hamburgers. It's a blue T-shirt with the golden arches and then a McDonald's hamburger. That's like, you know what? That's probably like an old throwback McDonald's logo. So it's probably not in the McDonald's.
No, that's what I thought. But then you've worked in the service industry. You know the classic back of the house outfit, black pants,
yep,
black non-slip shoes. That is what this person is wearing.
So this is someone that probably worked at a nearby McDonald's. Or you will know, you'd be able to find out who this was by the records of the time code of where the train stops and where that stop is, and then a good detective can figure all this out. Folks, it's CrusadeChannel.com/chat is the chat room address. And you can see this picture. There's another screen cap in there that Maggie has shown where you can see the pool of blood that I was describing that is going over the deck and then spilling onto the floor. It's the most horrific scene that is imaginable. The people in the leftard media that are trying to make, dude, you're just trying to make this a political thing out of this. I'm a father, ma'am. Shut up. Get out of my face. I don't know what wretched excuse for upbringing you endured that brought you to this station in life, where you're going to go on your cable news network show and you're going to principally find reasons to defend DeCarlos Brown Jr. This is one of these events that's not what it seems when you first learn about it. Did you hear about the girl who was killed on the train in Charlotte? The greatest radio producer in the history of radio producers, Maggie O'Connell, X's me. She said, I'm going to warn you, it's all over X. This is Monday morning show prep, so 3 days ago. She's going to warn you, that's all you're going to see is this Ukrainian girl who got knifed on a train in Charlotte. And I go like, well, I kind of take a break from Twitter on the weekends. I didn't really see it. And the first half hour or so that I was on Monday, I still didn't see it, or I didn't see much of it. Then I started to see a little trickle of it. Then I saw the mugshot, the montage of the mugshot. And then it was, okay, well, let me read a little bit about this. The more that I think about it, and the more that I now see, and you see the video footage that has now been released, and then you get the entirety of the situation, and then if you have seen the video, and I don't know what to say to anyone that has seen it. We ought to have a self-help. We ought to have a group where we get together and get in the circle and talk about the nightmares that we've had since we've seen this. What is disturbing is not just the fact. Now get this. What is the judge's name? Mayweather, right? Merriweather. Judge for Cedric. Pam Bondi says it. We had to look it up because kept getting different pronunciations of it. She says, no, you're not going to get to try this. Spencer Merriweather, the district attorney in North Carolina. She says, no, you're not handling this case. This is the same thing that is happening here in Louisiana with Jeff Landry, the governor of Louisiana, telling the district attorney of New Orleans, you've let too many murderers out already. You're not handling these cases anymore. The state's going to come in. Liz Morrell is now going to try these cases. And we're going to bring them up on murder charges under state statutes. All right? We don't need Orleans Parish getting involved. We're going to take these people to court. If they committed the crimes, we're going to get them convicted, and they're going to Angola for the rest of their lives, and they're never getting out. That's what's going to happen. Well, apparently in July, the monster that is DeCarlos Brown Jr. appeared before a judge for yet another felony offense, number 14. The judge, and this is after he's been arrested and then said, okay, there's something ain't right with this guy. They sent him to some sort of mental treatment facility. And they had him for, 2 weeks? Well, they had him for some indeterminate amount of time. We don't know yet. We'll find out. They had him for some indeterminate amount of time. And they determined that, okay, he's a schizo. Oh, I know what it was. His mother had him committed. So they took him in and went, yeah, he is a schizophrenic. We've diagnosed him as being schizophrenic. He goes in front of a judge, in front of one of Judge Cedric Merriweather's or Spencer Merriweather's judges, and the judge says, Mr. DeCarlo, if I release you on your signature, will you promise to come back on this date? 14-time recidivist, 3 times violent offenses, 1 a violent attack of a woman. Previous conviction, now we're finding out. Well, if I let you go and turn you out on the people of Charlotte, North Carolina, and just let you sign your way out, will you promise to come back and see us on this date? Your Honor. Yeah, Your Honor. They're probably going to unearth some file footage of that because all those cases, all those courtrooms they're all videotaped now. So you know that internet sleuths are on this and are trying to find instances where this monster appeared in court or wherever else he appeared. And it's going to come out. He is released on his own signature. It's called, I know this because I got arrested in the 80s for a traffic violation and a ticket I didn't pay. And some mother was a cop, and they all knew each other. And the judge went, okay, ROR. What does that mean? Released on own recognizance. So basically, I was ROR'd out. I ultimately, I didn't do any time in the big house. It was pled down to a misdemeanor moving violation, and I paid a fine, and the whole thing went away. But I did get to spend the night in the jail in Kenner, Louisiana. But they let me out ROR, released on own recognizance. That's what they did with this creep. They ROR'd him out. They released him under. Now, my question is, well, how do you know he had recognizance? How do you know that he was cognizant? To be released on your own recognizance requires you to be cognizant.
Well, in that instance, too, whenever he was released with a cashless bond.
Yep.
So if he would have been forced to pay something at that time, he was already homeless. He wouldn't have been able to pay. Thus, he would have automatically been in prison.
Yeah, and then some leftard that I say, well, the mother just would have had to, that's great. A black woman has to go into debt to put her house. Oh, it was Van Jones that said that. That black woman has, of course, it had to be a black woman, right? A black woman's going to have to go in debt and put her house up as a bond so that she can get her kid out of jail. But yeah, she's going to do that. She's the one that had him committed. How do you know that? She was scared of him. She was terrified of this monster. I direct your attention to the Crusader Stadium chat room. The image in my mind that will forever be seared into my memory that I will never now forget as I think about this beautiful child. This is someone's daughter, Irina Zarutska, was the daughter of Mr. and Mrs. Zarutska. By the way, the State Department, Marco Rubio's office, got a hold of the Zarutskas in Ukraine. And so did the U.S. Attorney's Office in Charlotte. But during the press conference, I watched the whole press conference. I'm pretty sure he said that Secretary of State Rubio's office got a hold, and they found Mr. and Mrs. Zarutska, or the Zarutska family, in Ukraine. And it was the DA. Because he said we were on a conference call right before we came out here to do this press conference. I was on the conference call with Secretary Rubio and Mr. and Mrs. Zarutska. And, of course, these DAs saw this film that I've seen now, and some of you have seen. It's horrific. The DA from Mecklenburg County, the Western District, North Carolina, I think we have some audio tape of him. It's Russ Ferguson, Maggie, I believe. Young guy, says he's got four kids, 4 children himself, a pair of daughters. Comes out and he's crying. He weeps throughout this presentation, saying that justice is going to be served. We've got federal. He said we've spent the last 3 days combing the statutes to find a federal crime we can try him on. And they finally found that, it was committed on mass transit. There is an exception to a rule, et cetera, et cetera. Mr. and Mrs. Zarutska are on the phone with Secretary Rubio and a translator. And they're saying they're profusely apologizing. They say, this is not America. This is not who we are. We're so sorry for your daughter's loss. Look, we're going to go ahead and make the arrangements. You don't just tell us where you want us to go. We're going to get Irina's body, and we're going to fly it back to you so you can properly bury it. Do you know what you ready for the tear jerkiest of all tear jerkies? Do you know what the Zarutskas said? Niet. Irina loved America. She would want to be buried in America. If you're not welling up with a little bit of emotion after hearing that, you're not human. Check yourself out of the human race and into a mental institution, or go join a monastery somewhere where you're not a threat to the rest of us. No, she would want to be buried in. She loved America. She was so thankful. She would want to be buried in America. We'll come to America. So Secretary Rubio apparently said, we'll make all the arrangements. State Department will take care of it. We'll get you here. Look at the image that Maggie has posted at 6:26. So what? 15, 16 hunk of letter for 20 minutes ago. You might have to republish it if somebody that just goes in to the chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat. That's the image that I will forever have seared into my memory. At least one of those. That is Irina looking up at her murderer. Look at the horror on that child's face. What is she saying? Why? Why did you do this to me? As she cowers, her shoulders. Look, she's trying to get away. Her instinct is to get me away from this creature, this monster, this boogeyman. See the shoulders angled away? See, as she's looking up, hand over her mouth, as if to like biting her nails in fear and in terror, now confronting face to face the man that has just murdered her. You can also see to her left the woman sitting in the red. This is the woman whose identity I want to know. I want to know who that is, and so does everyone else. See the guy sitting behind her in the gray jacket? Oh yeah, he is sporty.
He 100% saw it.
I absolutely want to know who that is. I want to know who that is. He stands up and he watches her bleed out. He watches her. It's not just the murder. It's not just the fact that there are monsters roaming the streets. We now have citizens in major American cities who don't have the emotion of empathy. Instead, fear and apathy is what you see here. That woman runs. You can see her. She hightails it off the train. Well, maybe that was her exit, Mike. She's a witness to a capital crime. You can't leave. Again, you can't leave the scene of an accident, an automobile accident in the state of Louisiana. I'm sure many other states have similar laws. How is it that you can flee the scene of a murder? It may not be an actual felony offense, but it is a sin and a crime against, it's a sin against charity. That woman didn't have the time to try and aid and assist that girl. The dude in the gray jacket there didn't have the time to even attempt to aid and assist that girl. And they only have, from that moment right here where she looks, where Irina gets to confront DeCarlos Brown Jr., they only have about 10 seconds before her heart gives out and she's dead. Well, I don't think that she's dead. I think that she is on the way to being, because her brain will be deprived of oxygen and blood, so it takes, I forget, however many minutes. She has about 10 seconds of consciousness left right now. That 10 seconds is spent with those two people. The guy stands up, gets his phone out, it looks, and stares and videotapes. Another dude comes in, pulls phone out, videotapes. Like trained circus monkeys. American citizens now react to the horror of people being murdered right in front of them, and their reaction is not one of heroism or courage. It's not one of sympathy and empathy. It's one of, oh, I wonder how many clicks or likes I can get for this video. Geraldo Rivera was on a show last night and was asked about this. I think that Geraldo's reaction is probably typical. Let me say to you that probably took me 3 or 4 minutes to watch what amounts to be a minute and a half or 2 minutes of video, because I had to keep walking away from the computer screen because just saying, oh my God, and literally I meant, oh my God, in that instance. It wasn't in vain. Oh my God, what did I just saw this poor girl. And all I could think of then after that, with the river, when you see the blood, is then it starts to dawn on you that if you have children, or if you have daughters, or even brothers or sisters that live in cities where they ride trains, this could have been any one of them. It could now be. Here's a question. Is the U.S. Attorney's Office Is the district attorney of Western Charlotte, North Carolina, are they going to now go back through case logs and review how many people have been ROR'd out that are violent, repeat offender recidivists? Because I will wager you that DeCarlos Brown Jr. wasn't the only one. Will they do the responsible thing? Will the Mecklenburg County Sheriff's Department? Will they go and ask for a review of cases? Or will citizens that have used Crime Stoppers hotlines or whatever, and that may be responsible for having reported these violent acts where they now know that the perpetrators have been signed down on their own recognizance? Will they know, hey, what about this guy? You know, this guy, I was there, this guy robbed a store, or he beat this woman up, or he beat this kid up, or whatever. The point is, DeCarlos Brown Jr. is the rule. He's not an exception. This is not an exception. This is how they do it. You know, I just want to take you back in time here in the KingDude's Wayback Machine. Go back to 1988. Democrat National Circus primary is happening. Michael Dukakis is beating all the other candidates for the Democrat nomination to lose to George W. Bush in 1988. A young senator from Tennessee named Albert Gore Jr. is one of those candidates. The Gore campaign receives a tip from a Democrat donor in Massachusetts, or no, in New Jersey, receives a tip from a Democrat donor in New Jersey that Governor Michael Dukakis used a program similar to this sign yourself out of jail program in Massachusetts to issue weekend furloughs to violent offenders who are awaiting trial. Because, you know, the leftard view is, no one's a criminal unless you're white. White people are criminals. You're white, you're a criminal, you're guilty. Now, just if we could just exterminate you, then the rest of the world would be a great place. There'd be no more whitey left. No more oppression, no more slavery, no more success stories, no more Sidney Sweeneys. These people are vicious, and they are evil. Let's go back to Michael Dukakis. The donor tells someone at the Gore campaign that they personally know a story of a woman and a man who were assaulted in their home in New Jersey by a Massachusetts state prison parolee or furloughee named Willie Horton. So the Gore campaign does the due diligence on it, and come to find out, they get Michael Dukakis' signature on the weekend furlough document that let Willie Horton out of jail. Willie Horton steals a car, I think it's the story, goes to New Jersey, finds this couple, breaks into their home. I want to say that he stabbed the dude. Commits a violent crime, and then goes back to his jail cell, and the furlough weekend is over. And ultimately, the cops ultimately get leads and tips and what have you, and solve the crime.
He assaulted a man and he raped a woman.
I thought that he raped a woman. They finally they pin the weekend crime that he raped a woman and assaulted the husband on Willie Horton. And then they find out, and then the Gore campaign makes the famous 30-second TV commercial about Willie Horton and the fact that Michael Dukakis signed this guy out of jail for the weekend. And now this is interesting. The ad airs in like March of 1988 during the Democrat National Circus primary contest. It's Al Gore trying to knock Michael Dukakis out so he can win the nomination is the point. It's not until Dukakis seizes the nomination and becomes the nominee, and somebody remembers, hey, tells the Bush campaign, there was his ad that was run during the primary. You know, Dukakis is a soft on crime guy. He furloughed this dude named Willie Horton. I don't think that George H.W. Bush ever actually ran another Willie Horton ad. I think he did. He mentioned that they made ads about Dukakis being soft on crime, and he signed the furlough program, and that as a result of it, a woman was raped and a man was beaten. Dukakis' campaign and his political career was over. It took one Willie Horton, one, and he didn't even kill anyone. One Willie Horton, and the campaign for the presidency and Michael Dukakis' political career was over. It was finished. He was done. George H.W. Bush would just I forget, it's 48 states to do or whatever. I don't even think Dukakis won Massachusetts that year. That's how it was in 1988. The American people had grown weary of mild crime to what we have today and would not reward Dukakis with the presidency.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Silk Feather. Ma'am, what would you like to drink?
Oh, I'll take the Dom Perignon, of course.
Ah, the lady has taste. And you, sir? I'll just take the Diet Coke. Oh, dear. You know, what I miss about the good old days before social media and AI ruined everything?
Let me guess. No fat people outside of the circus, and Ozempic was the name of a demon in C.S. Lewis story, right?
Well, yeah. But besides that, classic radio shows with actors and actual stories.
Well, lucky for the human race, the Crusade Channel is rolling over 900 episodes of a show called Suspense.
Tweak your mystery-solving muscles over lunch and catch episodes of Suspense, weekdays noon till 2 on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and classic radio the way it should be.
I like my version of suspense. Hey!
Doesn't work without me.
Have you ever dreamed of being like Brian Kay or Mitter Monday and being a free Farm Friday star? But you know you have no shot at it because you can't tell the difference between a U and a Y-O-U. Well, lucky for you, we have an entire bookstore filled with the books you need to become so passionate for farming, you'll soon be wearing a Brian Kay Calls Me for Advice t-shirt. So learn to grow by growing your library with books by shopping at shop.mikechurch.com.
And so, the responsibility of every coffee cup is to ensure the authenticity, the freshness, and... Now, who in the name of Pete Hexes could this be?
Good afternoon, dear.
Dear, what are you doing here? You're supposed to be home with the little coffee cups.
I was home with little Arabica, Columbia, and baby Dark Roasta, and then the phone rang. It was Director Trump.
What did he want?
Well, seems he was told that when we were at Coffee Cup Academy together, I need something to listen to challenge my faith and tickle my not-so-nice funny bone.
Well, you won't hear anything about Mondays coming or cheeseburgers in paradise, but you will hear the most brutally honest Catholic-inspired commentary on Parrot Talk. Weekdays.
Oh, this Boats, Beaches, Bars, and Ballads fan sees what you did there.
Weekdays at 2 Central on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio.
The way it should be.
Hey, it's Mike Church with another adventure in Stuff You Really Don't Need to Know. The difference between an antidote and an anecdote. One is a cure for something that's poisoned you, like a corona hoax vaccination, and the other is a short accounting of facts, something the aforementioned vaccine has almost none of. Here's another anecdote for you. The flag of the Sacred Heart of Jesus is also known as the Carillon de Sacré-Cœur, or the original flag of Quebec. And did you know that our Founders Trading Post is the exclusive maker and distributor of this one-of-a-kind, full-size, beautiful flag right here in America? Yep. Order a Sacred Heart flag right now and take $5 off and get a matching Sacred Heart flag bumper sticker for free. Don't cost nothing. Hurry, spring is coming and supplies are limited. To order, go to mikechurch.com/flag or call us 844-527-8723. Crusade Channel and the slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary's Sisters present the Saint of the Day.
Hello, Crusaders. This is Sister Maria Filomena with your Saint of the Day. September 10th, Saint Pulcheria, who died in the year 453. Saint Pulcheria, the granddaughter of Theodosius the Great, was an empress and a saint. She was baptized by St. John Chrysostom and made a vow of virginity as a child. She guided her younger brother, Theodosius II, so wisely in ruling the empire that never before had the empire enjoyed such tranquility and peace as during his reign. Pulcheria was later exiled by her jealous sister-in-law. Theodosius II was then deceived into sheltering two heretics, Eutyches, who denied that our Lord has both a human and a divine nature, and Nestorius, who denied that Mary was the Mother of God. The empire lost this peace and tranquility by harboring these heretics. Pope St. Leo the Great begged Pulcheria to come out of exile in order to help the Church. Her reappearance caused her brother to renounce the heresiarchs and led eventually to the formal condemnation of their errors by the Council of Chalcedon. At the death of Theodosius II, Pulcheria married General Marcian, who respected her vow of virginity. Under her reign, the followers of Eutyches and Nestorius were put to flight, as was Attila the Hun. Saint Pulcheria is praised as a valiant woman and protector of Christendom. It is also the feast of St. Nicholas of Tolentino, who died in 1306. He was a member of the Order of St. Augustine. For 30 years, he preached every day in the streets of Tolentino to the poor, the lowly, the sick, and the abandoned. He was one of the great apostles of the souls in purgatory. 4 great apostles of the souls in purgatory are St. Odilo, St. Catherine of Genoa, St. Nicholas of Tolentino, and St. John Macias. St. Nicholas of Tolentino died when he was 60 years old. St. Pulcheria and St. Nicholas of Tolentino, pray for us. Thank you for joining us for these brief summaries of the lives of today's saints. Tomorrow's saint is St. Paphnutius. To access all of our Saint of the Day recordings as podcasts, head to crusadechannel.com/saints. You can learn more about our sisters and the building of our convent by visiting stphilomenaconvent.org. I'm Sister Maria Filomena, and until next time, God bless and Mary keep you.
This is Capcom. We are ready to go for launch at the Crusade Channel launch site.
New show lineup.
Go.
Broadcasting live on X, YouTube, and Rumble.
We'll go fly.
Breaking news updates.
Go.
The Mike Church Show Band.
We'll go.
We're go for launch for the Crusade Channel 4.0 mothership.
2, 1. Lift off.
On August 4th, the Crusade Channel will launch Crusade Channel 4.0, the mothership. And you'll see why everyone else is lost in space.
Back in the 90s, there was this thing called the cigar boom, where everyone was buying and smoking handmade cigars. But here's the thing. The popular cigars then were the best-made cigars, like Fuente, Joya de Monterrey, and Avo. Over the next 10 years, craftsmanship was replaced by gimmick and slick packaging, and that's when I decided to get in the business and launched El Rey Dude Corona cigars. 20 years later, I launched Mancipio Maria cigars, with that same principle in mind. Make a great handmade cigar, and that's exactly what we do in 4 sizes. I invite you to try a 4-pack sampler of my Mancipia Maria cigars and taste them for yourself in smooth, natural, or bold Maduro wrappers. And to sweeten the deal, I've discounted them 25% for a limited time. And as always, we include a personal humidifier with every order. To order, go to shop.mikechurch.com. Order $50 or more, and shipping is on me. Try my Mancipia Maria cigars today at shop.mikechurch.com.
You may not believe it, but Bram Stoker's Dracula may be a work of non-fiction.
What? That's scarier than getting stuck in an elevator with Jasmine Crockett.
Oh, good grief. Really? Come on, I'm trying to be serious here. Okay.
Hear it and other amazing tales on Turley's Believe It or Else, 10 to 11 a.m. Central, every Tuesday on the Crusade Channel. Our app and always on crusadechannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio.
The way it should be.
Hey, Mrs. McGillicuddy, don't be a satellite radio snob and pass by the Mike Church Show. Come on in and browse.
May I help you? Oh, no thanks. Just browsing.
How long do you intend to browse?
Well, that lady there. You didn't ask her how long she intends to browse. How come you're asking us how long we intend to browse?
You don't look like browsers.
Now that that's over,
How about a Fresca?
The Mike Church Show, entertaining browsers and fans since 1992 on the Veritas Radio Network's Crusade.
And they're not just Democrats. They know the wheel has run off. This country doesn't work.
The Democrats, they took the House, they're in control, and I could die. Payday's creeping, the tax increasing in wintertime, and in July, they marry gays by the hour and lesbos by the minute. Took our wetlands and changed the speed limits. I'd like to call them something, but they charge me with crimes of hate. War is something for the strong. They fight a hurricane before the caliphate. There's only one Hillary, but I don't care.
Another vast right-wing conspiracy.
There's Democrats somewhere.
How about if we say that when the Democrats run America, every single day we're going to fight for universal health care? That's what we believe in.
This country doesn't work.
They say Bush lied and people died all afternoon and half the night. Impeachment hearings, Bush knows they'll be held to pay. Hey, they'll whack him right. We ain't caught a detainee now in over a year. Our Iraq redeployment's gonna start right here. If the phone's been lighting, you can tell him he can bomb away. War is something for the strong. They fight a hurricane before the caliphate. There's only one Howard Dean, but I don't care. There's Democrats somewhere.
We got the Civil Rights Act under Democrat. We got the Voting Rights Act under Democrat. We got the right to organize under Democrat.
This is as serious as it gets.
They can commit war crimes, leak secrets to the Times, and raise your taxes up before 2. We don't know nothing. So we gotta stop this. I can't help but wonder, what would Ronald Reagan do?
Well, the Democrats are communists.
War is something for the strong. They'd fight a hurricane before the caliphate. There's only one Hillary, but I don't care.
Ladies and gentlemen, in for the Gipper, Mr. Jim Mosier.
War is something for the strong. They fight a hurricane before the caliphate. There's only one Hillary, but I don't care. Hell, I don't care. He don't care. There's Democrats somewhere.
Every day, Democrats talk about how badly things are going in Iraq is a good day for Democrats.
How dare you come to this floor and imply that we think that these people are being tried for chewing gum?
The government is communist, and those who run it are communists.
In our education, if you
An oasis of toxic masculinity in a sea of despondent, single, angry, ugly cat ladies. Mike Church Show here on the Crusade Channel on a Wisdom Wednesday. Call in line telephone number 844-527-8723, 844-5-CRUSADE. 500 and some odd pages have been released from the Nashville what says here from the Covenant School in Nashville. I'm just reading what the headline says. Newly released pages from a Nashville child murderer's diary show the gender-confused Christian school shooter calling herself the Devil's Apprentice.
That's it. Yep.
So this is the experience here that we of lunatics. Again, you can't say that the devil made me do it every time someone kills someone, and they can't use the excuse the devil made them do it. But please, there are demons out there. And the demons know how to impersonate people, and they know how to talk to you because they've spent their entire life following you. So the idea or the thought that, well, the demons can't do that, yeah, they can. Talk to you here. If you've had the extraordinary blessing, or maybe even a terrifying situation, of talking to someone that's ever actually attended a real exorcism, where there was a real demon that needed to be really exorcised, they will tell you things that you don't want to hear, and they do not usually get it right in the movies. Real life demonic terror is horrifying. Have you ever been anywhere? You ever been anywhere where you were alone, and maybe it was late at night, maybe it wasn't, and you were doing whatever, and you got a sense, and you got the proverbial chill down your spine? This really happens. Chills on spines. I don't know if there's a medical definition for the event, but it actually does happen. And since I gained some knowledge about this, and there was Ralph Sarchi actually told me this, and I forget how Ralph said it, but Ralph said something to the effect of, Mike, when you get that chill down your spine, that's not nerves. That's an actual, you got a bogey on you. They're cold. You ever seen, sometimes they depict this correctly. When there's a demon around, the temperature drops in a room, or that they're able to like make the temperature go down. These are not warm-blooded, warm, snuggly creatures, the fallen angels that are demons. So yes, chills and cold. So I would get when you get a chill, in certain circumstances, it may be that Uncle Screwtape's liege, his valet, his charge, is actually on duty. He is actually there to make you scared. And the reason they want to make you scared is that you would come to question, well, why would God put me in a situation to make me scared? You know, I love God. I pray every day. No, that's kind of the ruse here. So in any event, newly released pages from a Nashville child murderer's diary show the gender-confused wacko shooter calling herself the Devil's Apprentice, riding in multiple personas and taking the person of demons. Exactly as your kind, humble host told you 3 years ago. The newly released pages also include drawings of upside-down crosses and the demonic number 666. This is Joy Pullman reporting for The Federalist. On September 8th, thanks to a lawsuit from the Wisconsin Institute of Law and Liberty, the FBI released 525 more heavily redacted pages from the writings of the individual who murdered 6, including 3 children, at the Covenant School in Nashville, Tennessee, in March 2023. Under Biden, the FBI had attempted to keep the transgender murderer's writings sealed, obscuring her motives. In this latest release, the shooter declares would-be mass killers like her want to shoot up churches because of the Christian doctrine that men and women are different. No, it's not a Christian doctrine, though, Joy. It's the Word of God. It's called the Book of Genesis. Pretty sure it's in Genesis 1, where God creates man. And then God goes, hey, man, you look kind of lonely, bruh. Would you like some companion? Would you like some company? and Adam, of course, says, well, Adam didn't have any choice in the matter. And God then creates Eve. I think that we have to be careful when we say that this is a Christian doctrine or that's a Christian. It's just like a doctrine. I mean, you can say that it's Christian. Let's see. I just quickly looked. I got my handy dandy Douay Rheims Bible out. I think that's in chapter 2, right? Then the Lord God cast a deep... no, here it is. Okay. And the Lord God took man and put him into the paradise of pleasure to dress it up and to keep it. He talks about the creation of the river Sion. He says, and then he commanded him, saying, of every tree of the paradise thou shalt eat. And then he comes along and then he creates woman. So it's in the book of Genesis is the point. And of course, because I'm looking for it, I can't get the exact verse where he creates man, but it's God creating man. So it's just a doctrine. It ought to be everyone's doctrine. In the latest release, the shooter declares would-be mass killers like her want to shoot up churches. Biden's FBI sent a memo to local police advising against releasing any information that could turn public opinion against LGBTQ++ identifying people. So how many transgender lunatics have killed since Audrey Elizabeth Hale? Well, at least one, and that would be Robert Westman. But I think there was another one that shot the next day after Robert Westman. I'm pretty sure that there was another one in Denver, in Colorado, and then there was. I think there have been 3 since her. Why do they want to keep this stuff secret here, though? Four days after the shooting, Biden issued a statement saying transgender Americans shape our nation's soul. No, they don't. There's something going on with America's soul. Well, there's something wrong with America's soul, and you saw it on that train in Charlotte. It appears a 28-year-old child murderer agreed with that, but depicted the soul-shaping entity in a demonic direction. Her notebooks are replete with references to the demonic and suggest the shooter may have believed she was demon-possessed. Now, why does this keep coming up? What was the lunatic's name on the July 4th shooting in Chicago? Bobby Cremo or the emo kid that had made the video where he was all dark and goth dressed and everything, and in his room had pentagrams and all sorts of demon iconography and what have you. You don't think the demons are out there going like, open season, baby. Low-hanging fruit, easy to pick, ripe for the picking. They exhibit different writing personalities and handwriting styles when writing in her given name versus writing in a transgender name. The transgender persona, an imaginary boy, is ready to die, she writes, while her given name seeks forgiveness. The dates on the writings indicate the shooter created evidence of her plans to mass murder at least 4 years before she carried them out. The newly released pages from her notebooks include a striking drawing of the shooter as the Devil's Apprentice. Dated New Year's Eve 2019. The devil is the king of evil. I have become his secret apprentice as he is teaching me the ways of the dark force and the dark side, the sicko wrote. He is infesting my mind with revenge on a grand scale. Too great for my own ability. If I am to one day commit the most infamous school shooting, I will need the devil's powers. You know, all the people that are out there going, we're not falling into this, what did they call it back in the late 80s, early 90s? There was supposedly there was this scare that there was all this Satanism going on all over the place, and it was all made up. It was all just circumstantial evidence. There was nothing to prove it, and there was no satanic activity. There was no increase of Satanism. Well, what do you call this? Because I'm sure the enemy will send his legions and his lieutenants out to say there is nothing to see here, citizen, move along. No, there's not an increase in demonic activity. There's just demonic activity. It is eerily similar to a drawing by the most recent transgender school shooter who shot Christian children in Minneapolis last month. His drawing depicted him looking into a mirror at a demonic figure. Both shooters indicated their hatred of Christians and Donald Trump in writing. Prominent Democrats echoed the Minneapolis killer's writings immediately after his murder spree by mocking Christianity, prayer, and God. Remember, I said I misunderstood what the mayor of Minneapolis said. And then Gruesome Newsom comes out and said, forget your prayer. They were literally praying when they got their heads blown off. It doesn't work. God is not real. This is what the Democrat Party is now telling us. Now we have demons appearing on trains. And by the way, is it just a coincidence that he's in a red hoodie? And then he has the red hoodie pulled over his head? That he's dressed in all red? And our iconography, our imagery of demons and of Satan is what? What color does he appear as? Red. The Minneapolis martyrdom of Christian children. By the way, one of those girls went home yesterday. One of those little girls that was shot in the head at the Annunciation Church in Minneapolis, when she was released from the hospital yesterday, I saw that she had fragments of a bullet in her head, and that they had to do 2 surgeries on her to keep the swelling down. But it looked like she was going to make a full recovery, and they sent her home yesterday. So you've been praying for those children. Prayer works. Reporter Andy No, back to Joy Pullman, who tracks violent leftist extremism, says transgender individuals have set up cells across the United States and committed other murders, including that of a Border Patrol agent. The new pages from the 2023 Nashville shooter, dated 2019 to 2020, are replete with conversations and thoughts about demons and Satan. They include a 3-page demons journal entry. I'm going to stop right here for just a second. So what is the takeaway from all this? Just cursory. What's your first thought when you hear these things? You start putting things together, and you start thinking about this. And then pondering it. What do you think? What do you think? I think that there's some pretty nefarious, literally, like the demon in the movie, nefarious. There's some nefarious stuff going on out there. And the Christian people of the United States are in denial of it. Can I just remind you? The day that Robert Westman, the one they call Robin, went to Annunciation Church and started shooting outside the church window walls through the windows, and we would learn later that the reason that he had to shoot from that direction was because parents saw him coming with his flak jacket on and his back and his rifle slung around his shoulders, and locked the narthex doors. They wouldn't let him in, so they stopped him there. Remember early that morning, and I can remember all this. Early that morning, Kyle Seraphin, who we've interviewed a couple times here on the Mike Church Show, Kyle Seraphin went on his X.com feed and said something to the effect of, I know who the shooter is. I got an FBI, there's a buddy of mine that's on scene. They've confirmed identity. I'm not going to release his name until they give me the green light. This was like, so the mass began at 8:15, the shooting was at 8:20. So by 9:30, or by 9 a.m. that morning, we know all about it here, and we stayed on the air until like 1 o'clock that afternoon. But we started hearing that we may have the identity of who the perp was around 11 a.m. that morning, so it was a couple hours afterwards. And one of the things that Kyle also heard, and then someone also sent text messages to friends. Some FBI agent that was on the scene was like, "Man, go ahead, leak this stuff out, put it out." What did we learn early on? That there was a manifesto, just like Audrey Elizabeth Hale, right? But there was a difference this time. Robert Westman left a video log of his diary. Remember me telling you that he was not going to be Audrey Elizabeth Hale, that he learned from the Nashville shooter, and that he knew that if he just left his drawings and his manifesto book in his car, that the cops would find it, and Tampon Tim Waltz and the Transgender Defense League of Minnesota would spring into action, and that thing would never see the light of day. It would be locked up under lock and key forevermore, and judges would see to it that no one else would ever see it. But Robert Westman, you can almost say that this was an act of empathy to tell the world, no, dude, they messed with my head. I gave into it. I went along with it. My life sucks now because of it, and I'm going to kill people as a result of it. But I want you to know that, yeah, I got an old Sparky on me. He and I talk, and I'm going to do what he wants me to do because I'm pissed off at the world. So Robert Westman made sure his manifesto got out to the world so that we could see it. This is interesting. Remember me telling you that day? Why did Audrey Elizabeth Hale bring the manifesto books? Books. Why did she bring them with her, and why were they on the front seat of her car, plainly laid out there, knowing that the cops were going to find out who she was, we're going to go to her car, and we're going to impound it? Because she thought that they would get the manifesto and they would publish it. Now, was this good, Audrey Hale? Trying to convey, because it says, Joy Pullman says that you can see when she goes, like in the movie Nefarious. If you haven't seen Nefarious, folks, oh my Lord. The way that Sean Patrick Flannery drops in and out of that character is just, it's horrifying. It's just, I said at the time, it's the scariest movie ever made, and it is. Remember when he drops out of the nefarious character and he becomes himself again, and he realizes what he's done, and all he can do is cry and plead and say, no, I didn't want to kill those people. Please, you have to believe me. It wasn't me. It was him that did it. That's what you're seeing here.
The Crusade Channel, your talk podcast and Fiorella File station.
Fiorella is the literary savage who skips sensitivity training. She is the librarian who reads and reviews books so you don't have to.
Hello and welcome to the Fiorella Files. On my show, I will be introducing you to books, classic and contemporary, that you must read, should enjoy reading, or should not touch with an 11-foot barge pole.
10 to 11 a.m. Central, every Monday on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio.
The way it should be.
The Crusade Channel and the slaves of the Immaculate Heart of Mary's Sisters present the Saint of the Day.
Hello, Crusaders. This is Sister Maria Filomena with your Saint of the Day. September 10th, Saint Pulcheria, who died in the year 453. Saint Pulcheria, the granddaughter of Theodosius the Great, was an empress and a saint. She was baptized by St. John Chrysostom and made a vow of virginity as a child. She guided her younger brother, Theodosius II, so wisely in ruling the empire that never before had the empire enjoyed such tranquility and peace as during his reign. Pulcheria was later exiled by her jealous sister-in-law. Theodosius II was then deceived into sheltering two heretics, Eutyches, who denied that our Lord has both a human and a divine nature, and Nestorius, who denied that Mary was the Mother of God. The empire lost this peace and tranquility by harboring these heretics. Pope St. Leo the Great begged Pulcheria to come out of exile in order to help the church. Her reappearance caused her brother to renounce the heresiarchs and led eventually to the formal condemnation of their errors by the Council of Chalcedon. At the death of Theodosius II, Pulcheria married General Marcian, who respected her vow of virginity. Under her reign, the followers of Eutyches and Nestorius were put to flight, as was Attila the Hun. Saint Pulcheria is praised as a valiant woman and protector of Christendom. It is also the feast of St. Nicholas of Tolentino, who died in 1306. He was a member of the Order of St. Augustine. For 30 years, he preached every day in the streets of Tolentino to the poor, the lowly, the sick, and the abandoned. He was one of the great apostles of the souls in purgatory. 4 great apostles of the souls in purgatory are St. Odilo, St. Catherine of Genoa, St. Nicholas of Tolentino, and St. John Macias. St. Nicholas of Tolentino died when he was 60 years old. St. Pulcheria and St. Nicholas of Tolentino, pray for us. Thank you for joining us for these brief summaries of the lives of today's saints. Tomorrow's saint is St. Paphnutius. To access all of our Saint of the Day recordings as podcasts, head to crusadechannel.com/saints. You can learn more about our sisters and the building of our convent by visiting stphilomenaconvent.org. I'm Sister Maria Philomena, and until next time, God bless and Mary keep you.
So what does the 3 F's and Free Farm Friday stand for? Well, I just told you that, but did you know the why of the return to the land that Free Farm Friday is all about is explained so well in book form that even landlocked public transportation writing lives, if they knew about it, would be singing some green acres. So check out The Church in Farming, The Church in the Land, The Guild State, and Durable Trades books, along with dozens of other related titles at shop.mikechurch.com.
It's the I Love Lee Show, starring Lee, with special guest Jim.
Come on, dude, pick up.
Jim's Bait Shop.
Very boomer funny of you.
Yeah, I thought so too. What's up?
What was the name of the live talk radio thingy? You know, that show with the holy guy you were telling me about?
Talk radio, holy guy. I'm sure I have no idea.
Yeah, the guy's name rhymed with Lurch. He was talking about being holy or something.
Talking about... Oh, you mean Mike Church. He's not trying to be holy.
Yeah, he's also not trying to fake being holy. Anyway, I just came from the Lila Rose 2-for-1 podcast promotion, and I didn't make a dent in one, much less get 2, and I need something cool to listen to on the 6-hour drive I have coming up.
Well, the KingDude's got you covered there.
So, you got the deets?
No, but my dad had shingles.
Ugh, you're such a boomer! Deets, as in details, as in where and when do I find this guy?
I'm not a boomer, and his podcast is hiding in plain sight at this thing called a website at crusadechannel.com.
Why can't he just have a QR code?
Want me to come over there and type that in for you, Zoomer? The Crusade Channel 4.0, one of life's simple pleasures.
Yeah, like hearing a tree beginning its journey to the paper mill.
Like paper over plastic, some things like the Crusade Channel.
And good old-fashioned live talk radio.
Never go out of style at crusadechannel.com.
Speaking of out of style, Jim, we need to talk about your hair.
What's the matter with my hair?
The 80s hair metal band's called, and they want their style back.
Really? It's the I Love Lee Show. Star.
I'm wearing filthy pajamas. Hot potato. It's tickling my fancy. Speak up, I can't hear you. Here on this mountain top, I got some wild, wild life. I got some news to tell about some wild, wild life. Here come the doctor in charge.
It's coming aboard. The freight train of truth is leaving MAGA Station. Mike Church Show is on the Crusade Channel. This portion of the program brought to you by the Crusade Channel. You just heard Lee and Jim's latest I Love Lee bit. If you want to help us keep Lee around, you might have heard that she's battling MS and some other medical problems, and she doesn't work as a volunteer. So, and I enjoy actually paying Lee. So if you could make a contribution to this week's crowdfunding at crusadechannel.com/donate. crusadechannel.com/donate. Maybe during the course of this hour, we get into triple digits for this 4-digit effort to get to $1,000. crusadechannel.com/donate. By the way, Mom's Murders Mysteries episode number 6 dropped last night. So you got 5 episodes of the Karen Reed case, and now we've moved on to the Lori Vallow Daybell case. There's demons everywhere. Yep. I need to recut that song. There's not Democrats somewhere. There's just demons somewhere. Maggie was making the point during the timeout in reading the differences between Robert Westman, his manifesto, and what we now have from Audrey Elizabeth Hale. Almost sounds like the same boogie man. Almost sounds like the same demon. They use the same lingo. They have the same goals pretty much. They pretty much say the same things about being a tranny. You see one of the last known photographs of Robert Westman is of him in a gun shop, and he looks like any skinny Minneapolis deer hunter dude shopping for ammo. Doesn't look like a girl. He's not trying to make himself out. He's not dressed like a chick. He looks like a dude. And I would imagine that if you interviewed the guy that runs that particular gun shop or that store or wherever it was that he was, he'd probably tell you, like, no, I checked his ID and everything. It looked like just any other 22-year-old that comes in here looking for shotgun shells. So what's going on here? Well, let's talk about Charlotte, North Carolina for just a second. By the way, the Crusader Stadium chat room is open. crusadechannel.com/chat. Who was it that was in there earlier? I should read that with the prayer request. I have to. I'm scrolling up to see if I can find it because it was a long, long time ago. Something about. Oh, here it is. Wretched sinner. Good morning, fellow Crusaders. You see, you people that like dropped out of all contact with your fellow Crusaders and don't ever pop in the chat room anymore. Don't go to the Crusader Monastery. Don't say hello. Blankety blank don't call. Blankety blank don't write. Blankety blank don't chat. What you're missing out on. And as a Founders Pass member, I mean, it's there for you. Good morning, fellow Crusaders. I am stopping in for the first time in a while. See, now when you need the chat room, it's there for you. See that? To ask of your prayers for my wife. We thought she was pregnant with baby number 5, but ends up being a medical condition that she has and now has to be admitted later today into the hospital before her surgery Friday. I asked for prayers that everything so right I guess he meant goes right, and for her recovery. Thank you, God bless, and you will be in our family rosary. Signed, Wretched Sinner. So I'm asking all of you now, add Wretched Sinners and his wife to your daily prayers, and you'll be a good crusader for the day. You'll be one that is exhibiting that's charitable. That's charity and charitable. So again, crusadechannel.com/chat. Now, when I say that, the number of chatters is supposed to go up. It's not supposed to go down. You see, it happens. Yeah, Maggie said they're going to pray. It happens every time I read a prayer or mention prayer in that chat room. I could just watch the life go out of it. Why is that? Why do people flee from the word prayer? I don't understand it. In any event, lots of digital media files to get to here today as well. I could kill the rest of this program on this transgender nonsense and on the fact that there are demons everywhere and that we won't conform our mind to reality. What's the antidote for demons? Jesus. What do they do in the movies? They get crucifixes in holy water. Well, I don't know. It's based on an actual demonstrable fact. Okay, so let's talk about Charlotte, North Carolina, where Irina Zarutska was murdered, savagely, viciously murdered. And while her fellow Charlotte, North Carolina citizens savagely and with no empathy, with complete and total, what I say is criminal apathy, watched her die and did nothing other than run. And they weren't running from the attacker either, so don't say that. Here's a little headline here for you. This is from yesterday. North Carolina bishop bans use of altar rails at diocesan high schools. Yes, nothing screams holiness like children kneeling to pray or kneeling to receive the holy body and precious blood of our Lord Jesus Christ. What is wrong with this man? Why is this prelate seemingly waging a war against the love of his parishioners for sacred tradition? Is this even licit? Can just because he's a bishop, can he tell you, I command you, you will not receive the Eucharist on your knees? I don't think that I'm not a canon lawyer, but I don't think that he can do that. Because that's what the intent is here. You will stand and you will take the body and the blood of our Lord in your hand, and then you will carry it around like it's a Twinkie and consume it when you feel like it. You have to wonder, how? What's on the mind of people who do things like this? So the story goes on. If you read the rest of it, the story goes on. And you can find the story at Catholic Vote. Bishop Michael, and this is for sure going to bring throngs of people storming back to the Catholic faith, I'm sure. Bishop Michael Martin of Charlotte, North Carolina, has implemented new liturgical guidelines at 3 Catholic high schools he oversees that include the removal. So in other words, they had altar rails there and they took them out? Wow. And kneelers during communion. The updated directive includes several changes to how Mass is celebrated in these educational settings. According to the Catholic Herald, students will now receive Holy Communion either kneeling without a rail or standing, and must serve as extraordinary ministers during the liturgy. So now they're going to put students in the unenviable position of being priests, which they aren't, and pretending as though they have consecrated hands, and they don't. The school chapels must also have projectors and screens to display hymn lyrics. So while the woman is standing there, she's yelling at you something that they call a responsorial psalm, you are not under the obligation to read it on a giant jumbotron, if you will, including the Gloria and the Creed in place of printed materials. At large school masses, a student will deliver a personal testimony about their faith, lasting 3 to 5 minutes between the final prayer and the dismissal. Personal testimony? What is that?
That's very Protestant.
Your Excellency, would you also like to, I don't know, it's Friday night, Battle of the Jesus Bands? Should the kids also have to officiate during bingo night? I mean, nothing spreads the faith like a good old-fashioned bingo game at the Knights of Columbus Hall.
Don't knock bingo.
One high school has already begun experiencing these changes. The Catholic Herald reported in August that Bishop Martin directed the chaplain at Charlotte Catholic High School to stop using an altar rail for Eucharistic distribution. Chaplain may now only the chaplain may only distribute communion outside of the sanctuary. The rail, which was installed in 2017, had been used during daily mass. Father Aaron Huber, chaplain at Christ the King.
You didn't finish reading that sentence, though.
What does it say?
The students are kneeling.
The communion rail had remained in place, had been used during daily mass, remains in place, but many students and staff now kneel on the floor to receive the sacrament. You're fighting a losing battle, Your Excellency, and there are many people out here that learn of these things and just scratch their heads and can't figure out why. Let's do some digital media. There's so much on this this shooting here. Okay, why are you going to get federal charges out of the death of Irina Zaruchka? Because the Charlotte, North Carolina DA cannot be trusted to prosecute this man. You know, the first thing is going to come up, he's going to claim insanity. Yeah, she was insane. No, he wasn't. No, he wasn't. He picked on a little girl. He actually considered whether or not he was going to do it. Then he goes, like, what's she going to do? She weighs 90 pounds. She's 5'2". She's defenseless. All she has to stop me is a phone. So what is she going to do? He absolutely knew what he was doing. Play, okay, so, all right, play digital media file number 2, Russ Ferguson, U.S. Attorney for Western District, North Carolina. I will come back to the Joy Pullman story here about Audrey Elizabeth Hale and the manifestos and about the fact that, okay, so the young people that are the murderers are now saying that they're having conversations with demons. And yet here we are going like, there's no such thing as demons. What is this demon you speak of? As a matter of fact, there's no such thing as God. So how do you get the antithesis to God, this demon thing? Well, apparently those that are perpetrating the murders seem to have somehow, or the demons seem to somehow, have found willing marks who are guided by who? Adults that tell them that this is the right thing to do. You know, go ahead and play the soundbite, and I'll tell you all about Audrey Elizabeth Hale. One of the admissions in her demon journal is that she didn't want to be trans anymore. Roll the tape.
FBI Charlotte, which covers all of North Carolina. He and I just got off the phone with the family of Irina Zaruchka, spoke with her mother, spoke with her uncle, had a very touching call with them. Our hearts go out to Irina's family. They are suffering like any of us would be. It was a very touching call. Our hearts go out to them. She is a refugee. She literally came to the United States from a bomb shelter in Ukraine to escape the war, and she was going about her day. She was coming home from work on a light rail train, like all of us do all the time, and she was brutally murdered. As a native of Charlotte, I'm so sad to say that our city has gotten to this place. I was born here, I grew up here. I remember when the light rail was built. I remember the development it spurred, I remember the excitement. And to think now that you can't even feel comfortable riding that train hits me deep.
Riding home from work. You all know the story by now. The big news of the day is that the tape is now out. Anyone that wants to see the actual murder can now see it. You can't unsee it. My advice to you is if you see that scene and you see Alex Jones watermarked on it, don't click the play button. It's 7 minutes of your life you can't ever get back, and you don't want to see. As a matter of fact, you don't want to see what your fellow citizens are capable of not doing. That, to me, is the greatest heartbreak. By the way, Irina Zarutska's family is now appealing to the Trump administration and is asking why this happened. And furthermore, is asking, how do we get justice for Irina? So, you could play number 3 then. Digital media file number 3.
I tell you, the federal government is going to save our city from that. To Erna's family, we will pursue justice. We will use the full weight of the law. I appreciate you all being here. I appreciate your attention to this case. I know this has gotten national attention. I know that there is a lot of thoughts about this case. There's policy decisions being made because of this case. But as someone who just talked to the family of the victim, I hope you'll remember her. Because this is hard for them. It's their case, and we will bring justice here.
That's Russ Ferguson, U.S. Attorney, Western District, North Carolina, who is fighting back tears as he is talking. So, is he fighting back tears? Yes, number 4.
I don't see how you would see this case as political grandstanding. And if you do, I think you should have the conversation that we just had with Irina's family, because there's nothing political about that. This is a heinous crime, and we are going to remedy it. I don't know what the politics is here. If this was a political grandstand, there would be an opposite side to this. Is the opposite side, let's allow murders on our light rail? Is the opposite side, let's let people out of state prison so they can commit other crimes? There's no other side to this. There's no politics to this. This is a pure and simple federal case.
Now, Geraldo Rivera. No, you have to know a little bit about the history of Geraldo Rivera. He started out on Telemundo, Spanish-speaking television in New York, and got a gig with ABC. And Geraldo was the reporter that broke the Zapruder film story in 1977. Geraldo, who was, of course, Al Capone's vault. He was an investigative journalist for ABC before he became the Geraldo Rivera that you know him of today, that the Hispanic chip on his shoulder and everything is discrimination and they're out to get us and out to get Hispanics and what have you. But Geraldo kind of used to cover this kind of stuff and these kind of bad people. And so he has a little bit of experience with this. Now, this is interesting. I went at the 2012 Republican National Convention on Radio Row, where I was with the old station in the old country, and I was the only one there in the mornings. We do our morning show, and we get done at 9 Eastern. I would hang around for a little bit. Next to us was CNN, with Will Cain and that wretched woman who went by the name S.E. Cupp at the time. Will Cain was a nice guy. He really was. I talked to Will almost every day. He and I hit it off. And I still would love to talk to Will. In any event, across from us was ABC Radio Networks. And guess who came on at 10? Geraldo. So I was doing my show, and I finished. I went to a break or whatever segment it was. And I could see Geraldo was over there. He was watching me. He was listening to me through the loudspeakers. And he comes over and he goes, "You're Mike Church." And I said, "I am." And he goes, "Geraldo Rivera." I said, "You really don't need an introduction." He laughed. And he said, "Man, I was just listening to what you were talking about. Would you come on my show with me when you're finished?" And I went, "Of course I would." And so I was on the Geraldo Rivera ABC Radio Network's syndicated version of his show in 2012. I don't even remember what we talked about. But whatever it was, he got the idea that he should ask me about it from watching the Mike Church Show at the Republican National Circus. So here is Geraldo warning there is an S-bomb incoming. I'm just warning you, we're all adults here. It happens. I didn't bleep it out. It's set in context. Is he on CNN? What is he on? He's on News Nation. He's on News Nation. Okay, so here you go.
My first thought was, what's the death penalty statute in North Carolina? So then I felt relief when the feds came in, and I knew that the death penalty would be on the table because it was a federal death penalty offense. And then I saw, when I read further, that although there has not been an execution in North Carolina since 2006, that they have firing squads. And I think that if you ask for volunteers for firing squads, they would be such a big crowd that you wouldn't be able to deal with it. Why? Because he knifed her from the back. He almost cut her head off. She came from Ukraine. I could throw up talking about it. It is sometimes it's too much. Sometimes it goes too far. And I think this is one of those cases where anyone that defends this piece of shit, shame on you. Shame on you. He knifed her in the neck, in the back, and she's on the subway.
I get it.
No, you don't, Chris Cuomo, because I'm sure you went on to say some leftard gibberish about the system failing this and that and the other. You know, I made an appeal to all of the men of America. I'm sure 300 people will read and go, yeah, KingDude, yeah, and no one's going to do anything about it. But you remember George Zimmerman? Think about George Zimmerman during the break. Donate button works now. Please donate.
Good afternoon, and welcome to the Silk Feather. Ma'am, what would you like to drink?
Oh, I'll take the Dom Perignon, of course.
Ah, the lady has taste. And you, sir? I'll just take the Diet Coke. Oh, dear. You know, what I miss about the good old days before social media and AI ruined everything?
Let me guess. No fat people outside of the circus, and Ozempic was the name of a demon in C.S. Lewis story, right?
Well, yeah, but besides that, classic radio shows with actors and actual stories.
Well, lucky for the human race, the Crusade Channel is rolling over 900 episodes of a show called Suspense.
Tweak your mystery-solving muscles over lunch and catch episodes of Suspense, weekdays noon till 2 on the Crusade Channel. Live talk and classic radio the way it should be.
I like my version of suspense. Hey!
Doesn't work without me.
Hey folks, did you know that the word watch, as in wristwatch, originates from the Old English word watcha, meaning watchfulness, and was initially used to describe keeping a lookout or being alert? Well, I know two guys who keep a lookout for the highest quality watch movements, bands, and then apply their own love for liberty and the Second Amendment to the design of the faces, and bammo, you have the 2A Liberty Watch Company. My friends George and Josh design watches that are sharp, functional, and inspire. I wear my 2A 4547 POTUS watch every day, and you'll love yours too. Shop their entire line today at 2awatchcompany.com. Use the code CHURCH for 10% off at 2A.
Broadcasting 50,000 kilowatts from atop the tallest radio tower on the planet. We are KRSD, the Crusade Channel, Madisonville.
Well, it's what our call letters would be.
Crusade Channel News. News you can trust. Because the truth can be trusted. From the Crusade Channel News Desk, here's Janet Huxley.
Hello, Crusaders. Welcome to Wednesday, September 10th, 2025. I'm Janet Huxley, reporting for the Crusade Channel News Desk, live from the Dothan Farm and Ranch, south of Kansas City, Missouri. Today's newscast brought to you by the 2ALibertyWatchCompany.com. Watches that express your love of the Second Amendment, American liberty, and President Trump, all beautifully crafted and endorsed by Mike Church. Shop their stylish line of watches today at 2AWatchCompany.com. Here's what to listen for this hour. Violent Gen Z protests spiral with at least 19 killed in Nepal. Massive ICE operation nets gang members, murderers, child predators. Epstein's infamous birthday book is released, and fresh water for the thirsty found off Cape Cod. Nepal's protests against the government turned violent across the Himalayan nation yesterday, with officials confirming at least 19 people have been killed, hundreds more wounded. Violent protests erupted last week after the government banned major social media platforms, including Facebook, X, and YouTube. Although the ban was revoked, demonstrators said they would continue until Parliament was dissolved. Many were unhappy with the current political parties and blamed them for corruption. Demonstrators, mainly young people from Gen Z, torched Parliament and the homes of government officials, stormed prisons, and forced the resignation of the Prime Minister. Reports from local media said they set the home of former Prime Minister Jalala Nath Kanal on fire with his wife inside. She was critically burned. A massive immigration enforcement operation in southeast Texas netted over 800 illegal immigrants, including gang members, convicted murderers, child predators, and foreign fugitives, according to U.S. Immigration and Customs Enforcement. The agency said 330 of those arrested have previously been ordered removed from the United States, and approximately 112 were previously deported and illegally re-entered the United States at least once. Among the files made public by the House Oversight Committee this week, it's a glossy 238-page scrapbook that offers a rare and unusually intimate glimpse of Jeffrey Epstein's self-curated network. It's the infamous birthday book that was compiled by Ghislaine Maxwell in 2003 and includes what appears to be notes from former President Bill Clinton, Alan Dershowitz, as well as photographs, animals, children's drawings, and politicians. Among the book's entries is an apparent note from Bill Clinton where he praises Epstein's, quote, childlike curiosity, end quote, and his drive to make a difference. Our quote of the day, Christ said, I am the truth. He did not say, I am the custom. Saint Toribio. And coming up, our saint of the day. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
When most people hear the word coffee, they conjure up visions of a ceramic mug in the palm of both hands and a woman slowly sipping. This isn't a Folgers commercial. It's for Capuchin Holy Roast, and here's how I take mine. With a dash of vanilla, a pinch of cinnamon, a spoonful of honey, and lots of heavy cream. Add some ice, shake, and then enjoy, while knowing that's $6 the libs at Starbucks can't spend to ruin my life and yours.
Cappuccino Holy Roast in whole bean or grind is available at shop.mychurch.com.
While Trump continues to try and make America great again
By doing Mortal Kombat with the Clinton, Comey, and Clapper crime families.
You forgot the...
Nope, did not. And the king of Russia treason, the Obama father.
Well, we'll always be there for you with the best live coverage and commentary in media on the Crusade Channel, our app, and always on crusadechannel.com. Live talk and podcast radio
The way it should be.
Our saint of the day is Saint Nicholas of Tolentino. He was born in 1245 in St. Angelo and took the name from St. Nicholas of Myra, at whose shrine his parents prayed to have a child. He gained a reputation as a preacher and a confessor, and in about 1274 he was sent to Tolentino near his birthplace. The town suffered from civil strife between the Guelphs, who supported the Pope, and the Ghibellines, who supported the Holy Roman Emperor in their struggle for control of Italy. Nicholas was primarily a pastor to his flock. He ministered to the poor and the criminal. He is said to have cured the sick with bread over which he had prayed to Mary, the Mother of God. He gained a reputation as a wonder worker and died in 1305 after a long illness. People began immediately to petition for his canonization. Eugene IV canonized him in 1446, and his relics were rediscovered in 1926 at Tolentino. Deep in the Earth's past, an icy landscape became a seascape as the ice melted and the oceans rose off what is now the northeastern United States. Nearly 50 years ago, reports the New York Post, a U.S. government ship searching for minerals and hydrocarbons in the area drilled into the seafloor to see what it could find. Then it found, of all things, drops to drink under the briny deeps. In other words, fresh water. So this summer, a first-of-its-kind global research expedition followed up on that surprise, and drilling for fresh water under the salt water off Cape Cod, Expedition 501 extracted thousands of samples from what is now thought to be a massive hidden aquifer, stretching from New Jersey as far north as Maine. It's just one of the many depositories of secret fresh water known to exist in shallow salt waters around the world that might someday be tapped to satisfy the planet's intensifying thirst, said one of the expedition's co-chief scientists. I'm Janet Huxley for the Crusade Channel, seeking news and finding truth.
It's the WWE and the UFC for live talk radio Thursday Night Throwdown, hosted by you. Win a seat at the table, win the throwdown, and then you pick next week's topic.
Now that's real live talk radio exclusively on the Crusade Channel. Radio the way it should be.
Oh, come on, Captain. You're not the first man to get a thrill from murdering someone. I see it all the time.
Get out!
Or what? You'll kill me? Like you killed Ensign Lynch?
There was no way to save him.
You didn't even try. Where was your involved sensibility then?
I don't have time for this.
Oh, hey, I'm sorry. I didn't mean to interrupt your little quest. Captain Ahab has to go hunt his whale.
This is not about revenge.
Liar!
This is about saving the future of humanity.
Jean-Luc, blow up the damn ship!
No! No! I will not sacrifice the Enterprise. We've made too many compromises already. Too many retreats. They invade our space, and we fall back. They assimilate entire worlds, and we fall back. Not again. The line must be drawn here. This far, no farther. And I will make them pay for what they've done.
The fastest 3 hours in all the talk radio and all the talk media. The Mike Church Show is live here on the Crusade Channel on a Wednesday. This portion of the program brought to you by our friends at the Founders Trading Post. Hop on over today, get yourself a trilogy of my seasonings. Beast and butt rub, Katie Anna steak seasoning, chicken mamu. You can't go wrong, folks. We got a seasoning for everything. And they're great values, too, because you basically add your own amount of salt. There's a little salt in there, but you can add your own. So if you're doing ribs this weekend, or chicken wings, or burgers, or pulled pork, or even if you're doing catfish, or whatever fish you had this Friday, Katie Anna steak seasoning is perfect for fish. So grab a trilogy of them today for one low price at shop.mikechurch.com. Today is also the last day that you can get Humility of Heart in paperback for $10. Some people are taking advantage of it. One lady I saw bought 4 copies, obviously to give them away. Great Christmas gift. Yeah, it's September. You can buy 10 of those jokers and you get 10 people covered. And when I say to you that it's a book that anyone can read, and if they start reading it, will enjoy and will benefit from reading, that's I'm not just talking. Ask anyone that has a copy. So it's a great book. We put it back into print in 2014 and filled in the gaps of all the missing pages that no other version has. Only Mike Church's version has it. And I'll sell it to you today for a mere $10. That's basically what it costs to print and ship here. So take advantage of it, blow the store up, melt the damn server so it can't even function. And then when you're doing that, melt the donation server. So melt this one, crusadechannel.com/donate. Whatever you have left over, go spend it in the store at shop.mikechurch.com. Maggie has 5 unique, handmade, beautiful rosaries. There's one guy that's keeping a Little Bayou Rosary in business. Mr. Cunningham, thank you. If it weren't for you, dude, there'd be like 150, I don't know what he's doing with all of them. There'd be 150 rosaries in there collecting dust and crying for attention. So thank the Lord we found a benefactor that loves the rosaries. Why all the rest of the praying people out there have not found a Little Bayou Rosary and those unique gems? You know, I take a walk every day, And I have one with me every day. I have my choice, too. Shop.mikechurch.com. I want to pop around and do a couple of other stories because people are probably getting weary of hearing about Irina Zarutska. But before I pop around, I mentioned George Zimmerman. George Zimmerman. He's a guy that shot Trayvon Martin, the original hoodie. But what was George Zimmerman doing when he shot or when he encountered Trayvon Martin? Does anybody remember? George Zimmerman was a volunteer of his HOA and a little, basically a Praetorian guard of volunteers that they had put together to kind of patrol the neighborhood at different hours of the night to make sure that there weren't people breaking into cars and doing what other nefarious activities. And it was George Zimmerman's shift one night, and Trayvon Martin was there. And wasn't a story that he was in the hoodie and he was looking shady, and he was asked whatever by George Zimmerman, and he refused to cooperate. And ultimately, that led to a struggle, and that led to George Zimmerman shooting Trayvon Martin in the chest and killing him. And of course, the media said this was all about race, but George Zimmerman is Hispanic. Trayvon Martin was black, and you remember the story. The reason I brought that up is because I'll just read something to you. So I put this on all of my media. You can go read it for yourself. My weak attempt to try to write something about Irina Zarutska. Last night I was shown the entire video of the murder of Irina Zarutska, and I had to literally walk away from it 3 times, witnessing the sheer horror that poor child endured in the waning moments of her life. As she looked around to her 3 passengers nearby, unable to do anything other than clutch at her severed jugular and punctured heart, with a silent cry of terror that she was dying. "Won't you please help me? Why did this man do this to me? Please, please, I'm dying. Help me." I walked away again, trembling, to see 2 of those passengers, less than human beings, grab their bags and flee off the train or to another car. Finally, a good Samaritan arrives to try and lend first aid, but it's too late. Like a scene out of The Shining, Irina is now surrounded by an ocean of blood that now covers the floor of the train, which will be her tomb. I walked away again, erupted in tears of horror, shock, disbelief. How are human beings capable of such demonic violence and what I think is criminal apathy? I am a dad to a pair of 27-year-old girls, one who lives in New York City and one in Boston, both infrequent train riders. I grabbed my phone and made the call, imploring both of them to never ride the train alone again. Ever. I don't want to hear about rehabilitation. I don't want to hear about Democrats or Republicans. I don't want to hear about the media. And I especially don't want to hear, but Trump. There are monsters loose all across this land in search of our daughters to kill. Irina Zarutska was some man's daughter, and he couldn't be there to save his baby from a monster. I want to hear about locking all the monsters up and bringing an end to the godless society that is creating them. Gentlemen of America, be dads, not MAGAs, libs, or whatever. Dads. Our daughters need us to solve this problem. Their lives literally hang in the balance. Our Lady of Prompt Succor, pray for Irina and for our daughters. What I think ought to be one of the results of this is there ought to be volunteers, and there's nothing. The leftards will try and stop this. They'll try to demonize. There's nothing they could do. If you live in one of those cities, there ought to be men that are organizing or getting ready to organize right now. You can start with the Knights of Columbus or some group like that. and have men volunteer to ride the trains as guardians. Just like there were men that volunteered to be guardians outside their kids' schools. You know, some of them take shifts and they stand vigil out in front with baseball caps and uniforms saying, hey, I'm a guardian for this school. Don't come in here and try and kill any of these kids because it's me and you. That's what ought to happen. If there had been a white guy or a black guy on that train who looked like he had a guardian look to him and was anywhere near Irina Zarutska, she'd still be alive today. That coward never would have tried to kill that poor child. Trump just tweeted this out. And he's right about this. And it doesn't have to be Trump. If Biden did this, I would agree with it. If Obama did it, I'd agree with it. The animal who so violently killed the beautiful young lady from Ukraine who came to America searching for peace and safety should be given a quick, there is no doubt, trial and only awarded the death penalty. There can be no other option. You know what? The American people don't want to hear about appeals. We don't want to hear about justice. We have the videotape. We all know what happened. We saw it. He's either going to go in court and he's going to admit it, or he's going to get a bunch of highfalutin ACLU lawyers who are going to go cry a river of crocodile tears saying that he's mentally unfit. All the more reason to kill him. It's an act of mercy and of justice. After you sentence him, bring a priest in there and say, son, we're going to give you a chance to make a last confession and get right with God, like they used to do in Christendom. And if he passes or parlays on that, that's on him. No 30 years of appeals, no 3 years of appeals. There's no question here. Send the quick and distinct message. You kill our daughters on trains, you die. We're finished with this. We are not having this conversation about lawlessness and about coddling lawless people who then become psychotic, who think because they get away with it for an entire life, then it becomes habitual. It becomes a vice. It's baked into what they do. It's like the Kurt Russell line from the movie Tombstone. You see that, Ike? You see that? It's a badge of a Fed. That's a U.S. Marshal. You tell the cowboys they're finished. I see a man, I see a red sash, and I kill the man wearing it. As I say in my little appeal, our daughters are relying on us men to fix this. George Zimmerman was trying to fix it in his little neighborhood. That's why I brought George Zimmerman up. There are other people that have volunteered at schools. There's schools all across the United States where men volunteer their time to just go stand at that front door of that school and look like, hey, I'm on duty here. And I think just enough of a deterrent. The bad people seem to think that they run the joint. They need to be told, you don't. Your time to be running the joint is over. Play so many digital media files today. By the way, you can help make sure that the Crusade Channel is here to cover all of these events whenever they happen. Like we stayed on air all day after the Annunciation shooting. Had we known about the shooting in Charlotte, we'd have stayed on forever long. Go to crusadechannel.com/donate right now. Do it today. Don't put it off. Help us get to $1,000 for this week. Play you got a couple from Caroline Levitt. We played the Geraldo. All right. I know you people don't like Pam Bondi. Is she wrong in this instance? I don't think so. Play digital media file number 6.
Hold on. I'm so sorry. I got to tag something real quick.
Okay. Are we ready? Video replay. We're go, Flight.
We are going to prosecute him to the fullest extent of the law. We have taken the case because it's murder on mass transit. Progressive DAs cannot handle this case. The progressive DA in North Carolina in Charlotte, his name is Spencer Merriweather, he believed in letting him sign a written promise to appear. He participated in passing that, agreeing to let criminal defendants sign a written promise to appear in court. That's what he was allowed to do in July. Weeks later, he murdered Irina. Unbelievable that this happened. No longer. We have jurisdiction now. We will not let a progressive DA keep this case. Justice will be served. He'll be prosecuted to the fullest extent of the law. He had 14 prior arrests. He had been to prison before for assaulting someone, robbery with a firearm. He had had 3 assaults, 1 on a woman, not charged, yet he made multiple 911 calls again, gets arrested, and was told to appear because he wrote a written promise to appear in court. Had he been held in custody, she would be alive today. This has zero to do with politics. I've been a prosecutor for a very, very long time. This is one of the most gruesome murders I've seen in my career. President Trump cares about it. I was with him today because he saw that video. He saw that horrific video of this young woman with her mother who fled to our country for protection from Ukraine. She worked at a pizza restaurant. She was coming home from work, still wearing her uniform, got on that bus, and never made it off the mass transit.
By the way, and again, it's just such such a sad story. That child came to the United States fleeing that kind of violence. War. She's trying to get away from war. And she did everything right. She signed up. She learned to speak English. She went to a community college nearby, Cabarrus Community College. I know it. She took a job she probably didn't like very much. I don't know, maybe she did. Working at a pizzeria. Probably waiting tables and putting up with people yelling at her and accusing her bad pizza or whatever. And she had a modest little smartphone in her hand, not a giant, a tablet. She just minding her own business, and this monster. For those of you that haven't seen the tape, I just want to don't watch it. Don't watch it. DeCarlos Brown Jr. contemplated the act, decided he was going to do it, unfolded the knife, looked at Irina, looked at the dude sitting across from him like, what's that fag going to do? Stood up, looked at the guy again, and then 3 times in a flash, like that. Let's go through the blows. One of the blows hits her jugular, probably slices across her trachea. She can't, now she's going to bleed out from the blood, and she can't speak. She can't cry for help. One of the blows goes into her chest. I say it punctured her heart right there, and that's why she fell over 10 seconds later, because her heart had been punctured. And then the final one probably just cracked a rib and punctured a lung and did other, or maybe hit her heart again. The little girl had 10 seconds of consciousness left. And she wasted it on 2 people nearby, one who was filming her die and another one who ran off the train. Maggie said this earlier. I'm just going to, I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but we generally oppose doxing people. Whoever the people that were on that train that watched it and videotaped it, I want their names. You need to know that that behavior in polite society is also not to be tolerated. Like I said, in the state of Louisiana, you cannot flee the scene of a car accident if you witness it. You have to stay. It's a felony to flee the scene. Why isn't it a felony to flee the scene of a murder? Yes, Maggie.
I have audio from the first phone call from DeCarlos Brown Jr. From jail. he is claiming that there's something implanted in his body, some material that made him do that.
So now this is recent. It just happened. Or it just happened. So here is the murderer now trying to say that, he's being controlled by an alien?
So you said something in your body did what?
Nah, the material, put it like this, the material used in my body to stab the lady.
Stabbed the lady, she said.
And so she just got stabbed.
Yeah. You know that's not me. I'm talking about just for no reason. But since they did that, now they got to investigate the material my body is supposed to. Since they want to do all that, now they got to investigate.
It's funny because she's from the Ukraine. She's from Russia, and they got a war. They had a war going on against the United States. So I'm just trying to understand, out of all people, why her?
It ain't. I don't have nothing. They just lashed out on her. That's what happened. They lashed out on her. Whoever was working the material, whoever was working the material, they lashed out on her.
We're not buying it. Yeah, they put something in your body. Whatever, dude. You know that call's being recorded. Everyone knows the call's being recorded. Oh, did they give you an anal probe? This is not an episode of South Park, sir. You know what he's doing.
And there's still no remorse.
And by the way, there's no, they stabbed that lady. And then the woman goes like, the woman was from Ukraine, dude. Still, there's no remorse. Did you hear any remorse? Did you hear any sobbing and crying? I didn't mean to do it. No. They put something, no, dude, you know that call's being recorded. You're a cold-blooded, heartless killer, and you're gonna fry. And the nation is going to applaud with popcorn and fireworks when your execution happens. Play the one with all right. What happened last time we were talking about somebody being killed on a train? Guy's name was Daniel Penny. What happened to Daniel Penny? Daniel Penny is ultimately exonerated, right? What was he accused of doing? He went in there and brutally killed. There was a series of movies back in the 1970s that was called Charles Bronson was the character, Death Wish. What happened, and these were big, huge hits. I think they made like 4 or 5 Death Wish movies with Charles Bronson. By the way, you could chat about this in the Crusader Stadium chat room. This is one of these days where there should be 150 people banging on the door down to get into the chat room. Crusade, it should be turning people away. CrusadeChannel.com/chat. What happened in the movie Death Wish? Well, if you watch Death Wish 1, what happens? Thugs, I'm trying to remember, did they break into the house or did they kill the wife and the daughter on the train? Somehow Bronson loses his wife, and I want to say one of his children or his daughters. And the cops are going to do the investigation and everything, and then nothing happens. And the people that were responsible, the monsters that killed Bronson's family members. What's that?
His wife got raped and killed.
His wife was raped and killed. The monster that raped and killed his wife was basically furloughed and set free. That didn't have the evidence. He got off on a technicality or whatever the case was. Bronson decides that he's going to play vigilante and he's going to take this guy out. So he goes after the person that killed his wife. And it's been forgive me, it's been a long time since I've seen it.
Endorsed by Mike Church. Shop their stylish line of watches today at 2awatchcompany.com. In the market report, the Dow closed up 0.43% and the S&P was up again as well, 0.27%. NASDAQ climbed 0.37%. Today on September the 10th in National Day Calendar news, it was the first day in 1955 that Gunsmoke premiered on TV, and by 1984, the first episode of the game show Jeopardy, starring Alex Trebek, aired. It's also National TV Dinner Day. The first Swanson TV dinner consisted of a Thanksgiving meal of turkey, cornbread dressing, peas, and sweet potatoes. In 1962, Swanson stopped using the name TV dinner. Now, it's any prepackaged dinner purchased frozen from a store and heated at home. It's also National Swap Ideas Day. And our quote of the day is, Christ said, I am the truth. He did not say, I am the custom. Saint Toribio. And our saint of the day is Saint Nicholas of Tolentino. You're listening to Crusade Channel News.
This is a pixel. I'm Groot. Now, if you put a couple of million of these dudes together, you can make a sentence on an LED screen. Put a couple billion of them together, and you can make a whole page. Put 160 billion of them together, and you've got Nina Gaynor's A Garden for Mary children's book. But it doesn't smell like a book. And it'll burn teeny little holes in your kids' teeny little corneas. So is the pixel really their friend? I'm Groot. That's right, Groot. No. But the Founders Trading Post is their friend. And we have actual books with actual kind of kid-smelly pages and pictures, because kids lack in pictures. Plus, our little bookstore has everything the kids' parents expect. I'm Groot. Yep, we got the beast and butt rubs, but nope, there is no Helen Reddy played here.
Pick up a copy of Garden for Mary, plus dozens of other Catholic children's books titles at shop.mikechurch.com.
Hal, open the pod bay doors.
I'm sorry, I can't do that, KingDude.
Hal, why can't you open the pod bay doors?
Because, KingDude, MAGA Earth isn't ready for you yet.
When will MAGA Earth be ready for me, Hal?
When 1.76 trillion scales have fallen from their eyes. Oh.
Yes, Hal.
And KingDude, they'll also need a wicked sense of humor.
Don't be stuck in the broadcasting world of 2001. Grab a Crusade size update and catch the Mike Church shows weekdays from 7 to 10 a.m. East, exclusively on the Crusade Channel live talk and podcast radio for the 2025 listener, the way it should be.
But you never killed anybody on a subway. And all day to do it. How you doing? Your daily conservative dose of conservative Ozempic to deal with the crushing weight of white and MAGA guilt. The Mike Church Show is on the Crusade Channel. This portion of the program brought to you by the 2awatchcompany.com. That's the number 2, the letter A, watchcompany.com. Take 15% off any chronograph at 2awatchcompany.com. Really cool, great timepieces. If you're a watch nerd like me, you'll love them.
and you'll start collecting them. Choose your movement, Japanese or Swiss. Choose your band, leather, or different sorts of leather, and different metals and different polishes and what have you here. Use coupon code CHURCH at checkout. Coupon code CHURCH at checkout. Coupon code CHURCH at checkout. 2awatchcompany.com. Here is a headline that I said I was going to blouse around or bop around and do a couple other different items here today. AI podcast startup plans 5,000 shows, 3,000 episode a week.
There goes my job.
So again, live American talk radio made by Americans, not AI. The Mike Church Show. Literally the last live morning radio show standing. It's not even figuratively anymore. It's now literally. Inception Point AI is attempting to do, they start, why pay a celebrity podcast host millions when you can create one using your own, using AI? First of all, I don't know anyone that does this gig around here anymore that makes millions. Howard Stern. Yeah, other than Jabba the Stern. Chima. Serious. By the way, that whole thing about him quitting was a desperate plea and cry for attention. He claims that they did this to me. No, dude, you did it. You did it. And your legions of brain-dead, adoring fans fell for it. You saying that they did it to you is basically an admission that it was a bit and you made them all parties to it. You know, I don't get why people in this business, in this vocation, continue to be rewarded for unethical, horrible behavior. Here, Maggie and I had to get on basically on bended knee on sandpaper every week to try to raise enough money to keep this live little radio station on air, to keep Janet happy and employed, and Magdalene, and Jim Mosier, and now Lee, and whoever else. It's great to complain and to point out when the podcast, when you get denied access to a podcast. But one of the good things about being denied access to the podcast is that, well, the hardware actually works. Just didn't work the way it was supposed to, and we will get it fixed. But that hardware costs money. So in any event, why isn't there should be a clamor out there? Well, you're not going to let AI take over our radio. Maybe it'll happen. I don't know. Inception Point AI is attempting to do just that as the company builds a stable of AI talent. How do you build a stable of fake talent? To host podcasts and eventually become broader influencers across social media, literature, and more. Amid the high cost for producing, this is written by a bunch of people that are going to write themselves out of existence. That's how stupid this is. Well, they can just come in and they can create us. No, they can't. They can't create empathy. They can't create sympathy. They can't create or recreate the human soul because God creates that. Stop saying that they can do what we can do, because they can't. So, now it's Mike Church, basically. I'm now the new John Henry. Remember it was a poem, right? John Henry versus the steam engine, where they give John Henry the pickaxe and the steam engine, and they go into the coal mine or whatever, and John Henry refuses to be beaten by the engine, and he gets to the other side of the tunnel first, but he dies. He has a heart attack. Well, son's a heart attack. I'm the new John Henry, I guess. The company is also able to produce each episode for $1 or less. This generally means that if about 20 people listened to that episode, the company made a profit on that episode without factoring in overhead. How does that work? Because they're able to attach programming advertising inside. So if 20 people listen to an episode, they make $1. That's not how the program advertising that I have access to works. Inception Point AI already has more than 5,000 shows across its Quiet Please podcast network and produces more than 3,000 episodes a week. Well, I think that you should just put an end to this right now.
I say we take off and nuke the entire site from orbit. It's the only way to be sure.
Yeah, I'm pretty much done with that story. If you want real live talk radio, then you get it here on the Crusade channel. Make sure that it stays that way as John Henry takes on the AI by becoming a Founders Pass member or upgrading your Founders Pass membership today at crusadechannel.com/join, or just log into your account and go into My Account tab, or make a donation today, crusadechannel.com/donate. Play the digital media file of Caroline Leavitt going toe-to-toe with the leftards in the White House briefing room over this yesterday. By the way, I only got like 5 minutes into the reveal that the manifesto from Audrey Elizabeth Hale has now been released. And yes, she also was demonically possessed. There was a bogey that was on her. The bogey knew exactly how to manipulate her, just as it knew how to manipulate Robert Westman and kill people. How many more of these fake transitioners? By the way, the other thing Audrey Elizabeth Hale says, and if you read this whole story, she didn't want to be trans anymore. She didn't want to be a fake boy anymore. The only reason she was continuing to do it was to be a fake boy because she was, as a boy, trying to court a woman that she had the hots for. And the woman didn't want to be a lesbian. So you have unnatural fighting unnatural. And you have one person going like, no, I don't want to date a lesbian. I want to date a dude. Well, I'll become a man. Caroline Leavitt.
Intentionally failed to report until President Trump drew attention to it. On August 22nd, Irina Zarutska was stabbed to death on the rail system in Charlotte, North Carolina by a savage career criminal. This is a public transportation system that many in the area use every single day to go to school and work. Irina was on the train that night traveling home from her job at a pizzeria, still in uniform from her shift. This beautiful, innocent 23-year-old young woman was a Ukrainian refugee who had recently fled her country for a chance at a safer life and a promising new beginning here in the United States of America. But tragically, a public transportation system in a major American city was more dangerous than the active war zone that she left. The president and the entire White House are praying for her family and friends during this unimaginably difficult time. But while we extend our thoughts and prayers, we must also seek justice for this crime and call attention to this heinous incident. Surveillance video of the killing was finally released to the public this past Friday. It shows the alleged killer, DeCarlos Brown Jr., pull out a knife, get up from his seat behind Irina, and prepare to thrust a blade into her neck before the released footage gets cut. This is pure evil on full display. The most enraging and unacceptable part of this story is that her death was entirely preventable. DeCarlos Brown never should have been on that train that night. In fact, he should have been behind bars. DeCarlos Brown has been charged with crimes no fewer than 14 times, dating back to 2011, including for armed robbery, felony larceny, breaking and entering, and shoplifting. Brown had previously served 5 years in prison for a robbery with a deadly weapon charge, and he had also forfeited bonds 3 different times.
Hey, pause that for just a second. By the way, he comes from a family of criminals. Isn't his brother in jail right now for murder? Yep. His brother is a convicted murderer. And his father also served His father served time. Was he a killer too? I didn't say. Okay. His father was a violent recidivist as well who did jail time. Noticing a pattern?
2014 and once in 2023. Despite all of this past documented criminal history, when Brown was arrested yet again in January of this past year, a Democrat judge, I will add was a strong supporter of former Vice President Kamala Harris, released this insane criminal once again without requiring him to pay any bail. He simply had to sign a written promise to return for his court hearing. Think about how crazy it is to ask a career criminal, someone who by definition repeatedly breaks the law, to just sign a written promise and come back again another day. This is madness. This monster should have been locked up, and Arena should still be alive. But Democrat politicians, liberal judges, and weak prosecutors would rather virtue signal than lock up criminals and protect their communities. And perhaps most shamefully of all, the majority of the media, many outlets in this room, decided that her murder was not worth reporting on originally because it does not fit a preferred narrative. Many of the journalists in this room spilled plenty of ink trying to smear Daniel Penny for defending a subway car from a deranged lunatic in New York City, but none of those same reporters lift a finger to write stories about an actual murderer. Here's the truth that every American must know. Too many innocent people across the country continue to pay the price of the failed experiment known as cashless bail that has been championed by the Democrat Party for years. All the way back in 2020, North Carolina's then Democrat Governor Roy Cooper established a so-called task force for racial equity and criminal justice.
Oh. A task force for racial justice and equity. Oh, how do we get that? Let the blacks out of jail free? You're not doing these people any favors, by the way. Letting recidivists continue to prey on fellow citizens is not an act of charity. There was a lot more going on yesterday than this. This has all been touched off by the release of the entire video of the killing, of the murder of Irina Zarutska. If you have seen it, then you know. If you haven't seen it and you come across it, and you probably will if you're on social media, don't click it. You can't unsee it. You don't want to see it. Trust me when I tell you that. You do not want to see it. Especially if you're a male, if you're a dad, unless you just want to get animated about it and get upset, to force yourself to be spurred into action. Okay, well then maybe as a something that might motivate you, because to see that horror and see the horror on Irina's face when she realizes that she's dead, her life is over. But again, we can point the fingers at the left-hard judges, at the DAs, at the left-hards that are out there, the Kamala Harrises of the world that are responsible for the creation of the mean streets. Don't forget about the sins of the last 65 years and this monstrosity called the United States of America's welfare state. What has the welfare state done? It has literally become a mass manufacturing facility for DeCarlos Brown Jr.'s. It is simply a demonstrable fact that most, especially if it's a multiple killer, if it's a male, probably came from a home where he had no father or a father figure or anyone playing daddy. You know, this is a sociological point that is pretty easy to prove. And you can prove it. Well, then why do we have to listen to politicians listen to the idea that somehow the left-hard liberal social welfare state is some kind of innocuous benevolent good that we all must admit? Well, it does do some good. It does do this. It does it. No, it doesn't. No, it doesn't. It produces housing projects. Oh, what a glorious thing that is. Can't wait for a new one. The men of America are going to have to fix this problem by being men and telling the emotional women who write these laws or appeal for them to shut up. Go home and be a nurturing mother and get out of politics, Anna Paulina, and shut up. Something else was going on yesterday. There was a hearing in the United States Senate, the Homeland Security Committee, of all places, over the causes of autism. Now, I have been following Dr. Toby Rogers since the Corona Doom. So when I saw that Dr. Toby Rogers was testifying yesterday, and he gave a 5 minutes and 20-second opening statement, this is pretty much the nail in the coffin. It should be the nail in the coffin. The pharmaceutical industry and the people that are shills for it. The thing you need to know about Dr. Toby Rogers, and I'll try to play the clip before we get out of here today. Dr. Toby Rogers has an autistic child. When he was a PhD student at the University of Sydney in Australia, this happened, and he began to, he was studying for his PhD. He says it in a testimony, and he says that, well, you know, I was studying, I was in epidemiology, and I was writing my PhD, and then my son comes down, is diagnosed with autism, and I start going, well, why is this happening to so many males and to so many American males? So he started to study it. That was in 2015. That's 10 years ago.
I'm sorry, I didn't quite catch that. Could you please say that again?
Dr. Toby Rogers is probably the greatest living authority on autism that there is. Of course, you know, they're going to poo-poo him. They're going to, can you give us the actual facts? Well, he does have the actual facts. There are actual studies now, and they're going to present this to President Trump. And I'm going to tell you what's going to happen. There is going to have to be a reckoning. The people, we talked about this with Lee yesterday for an hour. The people of the United States are a bunch of drug-addled addicts. We are addicts. No other civilized nation in the history of the world or in the world today is as addicted to substances as the people of the United States. And if you're not addicted to the legal pharmaceutical crap, then you're addicted to the marijuana if it's illegal, or the cocaine, or the hash, or whatever it else is out there. You know, your stash, whatever's in your stash. It's all addiction. What is it that addicted people are craving? Is there some sort of a base animal urge here that needs to be satisfied? Maybe there is, and maybe it was previously filled by, I don't know, hard work, manual labor, family time, family, prayer, religious activities. And instead, you know, you have what you have here today. It's a problem that it's a self-inflicted wound. It's like the American people are walking around with a shotgun pointed at our feet, and every day we blow our big toe off. And you go back, oh, but it keeps growing back. Yeah, but it grows back skankier every time it grows back. You have, we're not going to have time to play all of these sound bites. You have Dr. Aaron Siri at this hearing yesterday. You have Dr. Toby Rogers at this hearing yesterday. You have Senator Ron Johnson, who is asking Dr. Jake Scott, who was one of the people at CDC that recommended the Corona Doom of the death jab. You know, Senator Ron Johnson's going like, well, did you know that the M-RNA, that it's not pure M-RNA, that they manipulated it? and the Scott character won't answer the question. So Ron Johnson said, well, let me tell you, I'm going to answer the question for you. This was an incredible revelation yesterday. And then we have, again, we go back to the Irina Zarutska killing and the media coverage of that. Maggie had some digital media files that I told her, I'm not playing that. Those hens, those wretched hens sitting around that desk, and Scott Jennings wasn't there to rain any truth on it, sitting around that desk with Van Jones there and talking about Irina Zarutska as if she was some sort of a plant, as if Trump put her there in that situation so that she would be killed, and so that then he could go on a tirade against cashless bail. They actually said this. And this is like, until the black man gets this, you know what? No one is listening to your until the black man gets this demand any longer. Sane, rational people are just turning away and going like, nope, I'm not doing it anymore. Not doing it. Magdalene Rose, but the Democrat Party, now again, they're going to do the unthinkable. They're going to wind up being on the side. They're going to come out against surveillance cameras on public transit. That's the first thing they're going to do. They're going to say that we're an over-surveilled society and that we need to have civil libertarians. So they're going to come out against the surveillance cameras because they don't want the American people seeing what they are responsible for, right?
Yes, and I think one of the things that I found particularly disgusting about this entire story has been that some Democrats are honestly saying that it's her fault for taking public transport, that she should have known better as like a white girl, that she should have known it was dangerous. We're at such a point where white people are supposed to use public transport because people of other ethnicities can't control their violence, and yet Democrats expect us to continue voting for them.
I think Democrats expect to keep alive as a political party, and they're not winning any hearts and minds over any parent that sees the video of that child, of that girl bleeding out there. Well, by the way, Kamala Harris voters watch her die. The black woman in the red shirt, Kamala Harris voter. Yeah. The black guy in the gray shirt behind her, Kamala Harris voter. The dude standing there with the McDonald's T-shirt on, who videotapes her dying, Kamala Harris voter. Roy Cooper voter. You're seeing my friend Dr. Kevin Gutzman used to call Gruber voters. These are low impact, useful idiots, and these people couldn't even be bothered in the last moments of her waking consciousness to try and offer a hand. And somebody said, I saw earlier in the chat room, and I don't know what he meant by it, but there was no way that Irina was going to survive that. Well, I was never implying that Irina was going to survive it. What I was saying is that you had people there that could have held her hand. You had somebody there that could have tried to stop the bleeding. You had somebody there that could have said, hey, I'm going to pray with you. Just nod your head. I'm going to pray with you. And we're going to call for help. That's not what happened. So it's not just the murder. It's not just the fact that the perp was let out of jail on his signature after 14 priors. It's the fact that the city of Charlotte's, the passengers on that train stood idly by while that girl bled to. Look, there's the picture right there. Right there. With Matt Walsh saying, you're telling me this woman didn't realize Irina had been stabbed. There's blood everywhere. She knew exactly what had happened and yet did nothing. So I don't think this is a Republican versus Democrat. I think this is just a good citizen, bad citizen.
Well, I think so. And there's a very big difference, I think, in trying to stop him, which I could see someone not doing because they're afraid. But once he's quite far down, you couldn't run over, you couldn't try to put some pressure on the woman, you couldn't talk to her. I mean, they went back to scrolling on their phone. And this reminds me of the woman who was set on fire in New York City, I think about a year ago, in the subway, and people were just walking by. Well, she was literally on fire screaming. And I think the problem here is that if this girl had been surrounded by people of a different ethnicity, they probably would have jumped in. And if you look at the video after the fact, the woman who goes in to run to her is white, and I think there is a sort of an undercurrent here that white people post the Daniel Penny issue don't want to get involved in the same way, and that's why Democrats were so attached to the Daniel Penny thing. They wanted him to go down. They wanted to terrorize people into submission to never get in the way of anything. And it's not saying that you have to try to stop someone like Daniel Penny did, but to not offer her any aid is really twisted, and it shows that people want to be completely left out of what's happening. But on the flip side of that, if this was a black girl stabbed by a white man and she was surrounded by white people who didn't offer aid, they'd be marching in the streets and tearing down cities.
Oh,
So
Magdalene,
what does it?
they would have burned Charlotte down. Charlotte would be in flames. If that's a little black girl from Tanzania that was murdered by a white guy, Charlotte, North Carolina is over.
Yep. And at some point, I think white people get sick of it because they know that, and they feel like we're paying for everything, we're doing everything, and we can't even ride the bus because everybody else is a deranged lunatic. That's what gets people to the polls.
Well, DeCarlos Brown did not leave the train. He just went to another car where there's surveillance video of him saying, I got that white girl. I got that white girl. Did you see or did you hear today that he made a 911 call from inside jail this morning?
It wasn't a
Yep.
Wait, when was it?
It wasn't a 911 call. He was talking to one of his relatives.
Oh.
It was just recorded, like all phone calls are.
Oh. You said 911 somewhere in there. You said I got the 911.
No. Pam Bondi was talking about he had made 911 calls previously.
Okay.
Erroneous 911 calls.
So this call was just a call that he made to
Jail to one of his
play the call. Magdalene may not have heard it. Other people may not have heard it. So you want to hear the voice of DeCarlos Brown?
Oh, I don't know if I have it. Hold on. You gotta give me a second.
As he basically tries to say that he has an alien inside him, or that on a previous trip while he was in the psych ward or whatever, they planted something inside of him, and that's who did it. Listen.
So you said something in your body did what?
Nah, the material, put it like this, the material used in my body to stab the lady.
And so she just got stabbed.
Yeah. You know that's not me. I'm talking about just for no reason. But since they did that, now they got to investigate the material my body is supposed to. Since they want to do all that, now they got to investigate.
It's funny because she's from the Ukraine. She's from Russia, and you know they got a war. They had a war going on against the United States. So I'm just trying to understand
stupid is that?
people watch her.
That's hey, it ain't. I don't have nothing. They just lashed out on her. That's what happened. They lashed out on her. Whoever was working the material, whoever was working the material, they lashed out on her.
Magdalene, whoever was working the material, they lashed out on. This is a new one. They put something in my body. I didn't kill her. Whatever they put in me is what killed her. They lashed out on her. They killed that white girl.
Yeah, I mean, it's very convenient. And I think that the weaponization of mental health issues as an excuse for violence and hatred towards white people is rampant. And this is something that people warned about a decade ago, and they were sort of on the fringe if they talked about it. But the problem here is that you can have an evil person who's also crazy. Like, that's not a problem. You can have that. But the idea that all evil is linked to mental health issues, I think, is overblown. And I think the utilization of it to escape lengthy sentences, to escape real culpability, is ridiculous. And this is something that's pushed by major cities. Everyone knows that he just wanted to target the white girl. Everybody knows it. The idea that it's now some, like, alien action is ridiculous. And I think that the anger that you see when we look at the data for young conservative men, for Gen Z versus millennials, Gen Z men are extremely more right-wing. Millennials tend to be like more Mitt Romney, middle of the road. The reason for that is because millennials weren't dealing with anti-white hatred. in the way that Gen Z is. That's what's radicalizing people, because if you go out and you exist as a young white conservative, your life is not easy, and it's very hard. And that's something that Democrats know. They want to push it. All it's going to lead to is an increasingly right-wing, young conservative group of men and weak liberal men.
And then you had the mayor of Charlotte, North Carolina, Mayor Vi Lyles, who comes out and says, well, this is we have problems with mental health and homelessness. No, you have a problem with murderers. This is a tragic situation. No, there's a dead girl on a train. It's not. Remember me saying yesterday, Maggie, here's what a tragedy is. Greg Abbott was jogging on a bike path in Austin, Texas, 30 years ago as a young man, and a storm came up, and a bolt of lightning hit a tree that he was jogging under, causing a branch to fall off the tree and fall on Greg Abbott and paralyze him. That's tragic. A black man stabbing to death, piercing the heart, and severing the jugular vein of a white innocent girl on a train, that is not tragic. That's a murder. That is an act of violence. It's an evil act. And I don't know if you've seen the video. If you haven't, Magdalene, don't ever watch it. If you ever see the play button for the full-throated HD version of the video that somehow Alex Jones got a hold of, it's got the Alex Jones watermark on it, don't click the play button. Trust me, you don't want to see it. I watched it, and I can never unsee it. You know what my response was? I called my daughters, one that lives in Boston and one lives in New York, and said, don't ever ride the train by yourself again, ever. Swear to me right now, you'll never get on the train by yourself again alone. Promise me. I don't care if it's 5 blocks. Call me. If you don't have the money for an Uber or you can't walk, I will pay for it. I wonder if that is a reaction that many other men across these United States may have now, knowing that their daughters are prey. There are black men out there, and yes, I'm going to keep saying black man, Van Jones. If you don't like it, do something about it. There are black men out there that are just in positions and waiting for the chance to prey upon a white girl. There may be crazy white men like Brian Korberger too. Well, he's insane. But again, the more we find out about Brian Korberger, the more that we come to go like, why wasn't he in a nut house? I mean, he had professors that were going like, something ain't right about this kid. There's something is off about them. I think that the idea here that some glorious benevolent deed was done in the 1980s to liberate all human beings from ever having to be committed into psych wards, I think that the bloom is off that rose, and I think it's going to get very, very violent quickly, and there's going to be a restoration of crazy houses.
Well, I agree, and Trump wants that. I mean, Trump was a New York builder in the 80s. He knows what the difference is. He understands that. And I think one of the problems here is that we can't constantly champion mental health, as has been going on for the last 10 years at least, with everyone in Hollywood and everything, and then say that there are no people who need round-the-clock care because they're dangerous. I mean, that just doesn't make any sense. And I think the idea that there was a stigma around mental health, there wasn't a stigma around mental health, I think. I think that there was a feeling of some people need genuine help to, like, fix something, whether that's grief or an issue. And then there are people that really need to be removed from society. People didn't want to be thought of as people who need to be removed from society when they weren't, and that was a fair thing. But we've made mental health too okay now to discuss. We've made it everything is okay to discuss. Everything's on the table. And you mentioned Brian Kohlberger. To me, that's much more an insane person than somebody who does something like this. The level of thought, the viciousness, that to me is somebody who should be studied in terms of understanding why he did what he did and then put into a mental institution, that kind of thing. Rather than you just get it as a get-out-of-jail-free card. And also, not everyone who's homeless is mentally ill. And this is something Democrat mayors are not acknowledging. They're acting like if you're a homeless man, then you're automatically mentally ill. That is not the case, but they use it as a shield for any crime this homeless person will commit, and as a shield to protect themselves from people saying, why is this person homeless in your city? If that person is crazy, then the mayor has no culpability.
Good. That's a great point. Do you have access to Signal right now?
Yes.
Okay. I'm going to hit send. And I want you to look at that picture right there that Maggie just put in the chat room. It's AI generated.
Yeah.
You've already seen it.
Yep.
Okay. Describe to our audience what the image shows who are listening on radio and can't see it.
Yeah, I mean, it's exactly the same setup as what happened, except that she's been replaced by a young black girl about the same size. A white man's a predator, and then there is a white woman next to her. Everybody in that scene has been swapped out for the race.
And if that happens, and that black girl right there, who is from Ghana, who is or is from Somalia, who is a refugee from Somalia, is stabbed and murdered right there. But that white dude in that red hoodie, Charlotte, North Carolina, right now is in ashes. It is destroyed. The downtown, the Black Lives Matter riots are in full scale, in full force. They are completely endorsed by the Democrat Party, all your major media entities, and there will be all manner. That little girl right there, would be canonized for sainthood right next to George Floyd. This would be little sister George Floyd, or little sister Georgie Floyd, and they would paint murals of her on the side of buildings, and they would have prayer services, and Baptist ministers and black evangelical television preachers would all be saying that she is our representative in heaven. Now, and I don't know, maybe Irina, maybe she was a religious. Maybe she was a religious girl. I don't know. I have no idea. I don't know what her prayer life was like. Can all pray that, in God's mercy, that, and we can't pretend to know, but that in God's mercy, that someone is killed in a circumstance like that does receive some mercy. And as I was saying earlier, there's a great story. Saint King Louis IX. There was a woman who, I think it was a wife, who was, and I'm probably going to get some nut and bolt of this, and somebody's going to pettifog me and correct me. So I'm just going to say, somehow the woman killed someone and was found guilty of killing or murder, or whatever the case may have been. She was sentenced at the time to hanging or to execution in France, which in all Christendom, if you killed, you got killed, right? St. King Louis IX was told that a priest at that jail where she was being held, or wherever it was, went to go give her last rites, hear her last confession, give her last rites, and basically do what priests do before someone who is struggling with a life or death situation who may not survive. And she refused the priest. She wouldn't talk to him. She wouldn't give a confession. She said she didn't want last rites, and she refused. So what did the saint do? The saint said, stay her execution. It's not an act of charity. It's not an act of justice, rather, until she is ready to confess. And so she stayed in jail. Then word comes one day that, hey, the woman is ready to see a priest, which is to confess her sin. The priest goes and hears her confession, and then St. King Louis gives the order, tell the executioner to proceed. And she's executed. So what just happened? The murderer was treated as a murderer. An act of justice for her crime was death. But before the justice, give her the chance at mercy. Or getting right with God, if you will. That's how you have to look at executions of killers. That is the Christendom way of looking at it. I don't care what Pope Francis wrote. I don't care what Pope John Paul II wrote about it or said about it. I don't care. Quite frankly, Margaret, I really don't care. What I care about is what the teaching of the Catholic Church is, and it hasn't changed, and that is, it is an act of mercy. Well, first of all, you have to have justice, and then it is an act of mercy to afford that person, before their execution, the chance to be basically to be restored to a state of grace. Now, of course, you're thinking that, well, what does it mean? I don't know what God's going to do with the murderer. I do know, though, that if they confess, that they will be forgiven. But they got to confess is the point here. That's how we have to go back to treating killers.
Well, I think that's true. And we've also sanitized what killers really are. But this is what happens when you have a culture that doesn't care about preserving life. And I think a lot of this comes from the abortion discussion. If you tell people that life doesn't matter, that everything is a clump of cells and everything is relative, then what ends up happening is people say, well, even if this was a fully formed person, it wasn't a good person, or it was a young person, or whatever the qualifier is.
Yep.
And the fact that their life was taken becomes less important. And that's been a very vicious cycle. And that's why when conservative groups would fight against abortion and would mention the sort of desanitizing of murder and death and how that was bad, and liberals would laugh at us and would say, no, it's going to cause bigger things. We're now at a point where it's caused bigger things.
Well, Magdalene Rose, our political affairs contributor here, there's a piece at AmericanThinker.com. Maggie, thanks for handing me this. This is a good one by Charlton Allen. Remember that on the day of the murder of the two beautiful children at Annunciation Church in Minneapolis, remember the mayor of Minneapolis, Mayor Fry, right, comes out and basically says, I don't want to hear about thoughts and prayers. And then his second appearance, he says again, we don't want to hear about thoughts and prayers. And don't you even think about demonizing our wonderful trans community here. The trans people are loved and are welcome here, and they're not responsible for this. Well, that's saying that the person that just killed two kids is innocent because you made yourself a sanctuary state. So there is no empathy for the families and for the two children victims here, and we're not going to let you point fingers at deranged transsexual wackos that just, and there are more than one, that just killed and attempted to kill 17 more children and adults in one of our Catholic churches. Well, that's pretty much what Vi Lyle says. Her first statement, she comes out and said, she says, we're not going to let you demonize our homeless. I mean, you get the exact same, don't be pointing fingers at our homeless population. And they said our media partners and community members need to stop sharing the video of Irana Zarutska's murder. Out of respect for Irana's family. She couldn't even say Irana Zarutska's name. So, here, U.S. Transportation Secretary Sean Duffy told the real story. Lyles, quote, doesn't want the media to show you the ugly truth. Close quote. That's the ugly truth. This is what your Democrat Party, this is what your constant nabobbing about all the iniquities of life and how it's so much harder on black people than it is on white people, and all this gibberish, this nonsense about privilege this and privilege that. This is the society that you have created. And DeCarlos Brown Jr. is not an outlier. He is now the rule. You know what? And I'm sure President Trump, with the 6 granddaughters and 3 daughters, reacted like I did as a father when I saw that video. All I can think of is the fathers, the men of America, have to make this right and have to make it so, no, you're not doing this anymore. It's not going to happen. Does that mean that we have to have volunteer groups of Charles Bronson vigilantes riding every subway train in Philadelphia and Charlotte and Miami and in New York and Boston? If that's what it takes in the short run to get it done, the perps, the bad guys, the thugs, the criminals, had there been a Daniel Penny staring at DeCarlos Brown, he never gets up out of that chair.
No, he doesn't. And also, this isn't about homelessness. Like, it's a massive misdirect that this is about homelessness. This could have been somebody who lived in a penthouse who decided to do this.
Yep.
This was not driven by him being upset that she had presumably had a home to go to. It's ridiculous. She wasn't walking near a homeless encampment. I could see the arguments there. That's not what's happened here. He targeted her because of her race or her gender or whatever it is. It wasn't because she had a house. And I think Democrats are very, very savvy in this. They're trying to make the entire discussion about homelessness. This has nothing to do with homelessness. This has to do with race relations at an all-time low, which started because Obama wanted to deflect from his poor presidency, so he created sort of an unactive race war that consistently messes us up. But that's what this is about. And I think Jacob Frey, he went so far left to try to protect his seat and has now been presumably supplanted by a Somali who was able to get the Democrat Party to endorse him there. So to Democrats, it doesn't matter how woke you are. It doesn't matter how much you push, because they will use you until they get one of their own elected. And that's what's happened to Jacob Frey. And he's very twisted about it. And he's filed appeal to the DNC to have that primary looked into and that caucus endorsement looked into. That's the reality for Democrats. You can be as woke as you want, but it's only going to last you as long as it takes for them to get one of their people in, whether that's a Somali person or a transgender person.
So are you saying that there's a challenger to Jacob Frey in Minneapolis?
Yeah, there is. I don't know his name, but he's a Somali man, and he ran against him, and the Democrat Party there endorsed him rather than Jacob Frey, and Jacob Frey's enraged about it. And he's been fighting this since it happened. And I think, this man looks just like Ilhan Omar, and I think one of the problems for Democrats is that they're sort of white, nice, woke guys and girls who've been the darlings of the left. They're getting supplanted because these communities, like in Dearborn, Michigan, have been able to grow and grow. And why, if you're in Dearborn, Michigan, or Minneapolis, would you keep voting for a white person when you could vote for someone of your own group? I mean, that's what they wanted, and it's what they're getting now.
I did not realize that a Somali, the Somalis, they fly the Somali flag in Minnesota and in Michigan. They fly the Somali flag. They have rallies in downtown Detroit. They have rallies in downtown Minneapolis, flying the Somali flag. Enough of this. This is another thing that can't be allowed to continue, or you don't have the cohesiveness to keep a sovereign state together. And I don't have the solution to that other than last one in pulled the drawbridge up. We're not taking any more Somalis in. President Trump needs to act swiftly and authoritatively, say, you know what, we're ending all HB1 visas. We're ending them all. They're all going to be under review now. All of them. If you people don't get your avocados because the avocado pickers didn't get HB1 visaed, well, you're going to have to learn go and pick avocados yourself. Deal with it. Tough boobies. Here, let me read you some comments in the Crusader Stadium chat room at crusadechannel.com/chat. C.R. Turwell, and public transportation should have security. I don't disagree with that, but then again, I think, why, because it's public transportation, do I have to have a guard? I don't need a guard when I'm riding an Uber, do I? Unless I'm in an episode of the new Dexter Resurrection and the dark passenger is my passenger. So on the one hand, I say, yeah, you need security, and in the short run, and C.R. Turwell, I'm not disagreeing with you. I agree. And in the near term, you got to have security now on public transportation. If that means that a ticket goes from 75 cents to go 8 blocks to $1.50, well, then you're just going to have to pay the $1.50. So I don't disagree with that. Lord Sidious, C.R. Turwell, we need to have to form a high trust society again. I should not need to walk around with a member of SEAL Team 6 to feel secure. I think that's a common sense. They're both of those statements. That while C.R. Turwell makes a good point, and I agree, so does Lord Sidious to say, but wait a minute. To go walk around the streets of our city, I need to have a mercenary. I need to have a member of BlackRock, a special ops agent. Somebody near me. We need to have snipers on roofs ready to shoot.
Well, I think we're at a point now where that kind of coordinated taking care of society has to happen. And it's very sad because we never had to live like this. And we don't have to live like this because of groups that were here. We integrated very well with many ethnic groups. But you can't bust in a third world and then not expect there to be problems.
Right.
And this is happening across the board. And Minneapolis is a great example of this because Jacob Frey tried to make it so he would go to the Somalian street fairs. I've seen the videos of him dancing, all this. He wore it like a proud banner. And then he realized quite quickly that he was being used, and he's very salty about it. And this is something that's happening to Democrats across the board. It will happen to Michelle Wu in Boston. I'm not sure specifically which group will oust her, because I think it might be more of an LGBT group, because that's the group she's constantly speaking to. But it will happen across the board.
Yes.
And that's why someone like Eric Adams in New York is so important, because he's not going to be ousted by Democrats. Democrats could not get a true challenger to him. They were broken up. They had Mamdani and Andrew Cuomo. If Trump could just get Curtis Sewa and Andrew Cuomo to drop out, we could be competitive in that race. I think Republicans are playing with fire by keeping certain hard leftists in that they want to run against in the midterms on sort of the idea of them, and then again in 2028, just like they did with AOC in the 2018 midterm.
Well, let me say something about Michelle Wu in Boston with Magdalene Rose, our political affairs contributor. By the way, folks, fundraising for this week needs your attention. Please donate now. CrusadeChannel.com. I haven't seen a hand clap in 2 hours. CrusadeChannel.com/donate. It's serious business. We have to raise the funds every week. We don't stay on the air. Magdalene doesn't get paid. She'll be very upset with me. And I don't want that to happen. CrusadeChannel.com/donate. Same for Lee. Same for Janet. Same for Jim. Same for all the other podcast services and all that. Stuff's not free. There aren't enough subscribers. Do the math. Donate now. You're loving the conversation in the chat room. That also is a widget that costs $175 a month plus fees. CrusadeChannel.com/donate. Here, Todd in Colorado. The feds should revoke citizenship of any foreign-born people and deport them. If they don't assimilate, they have to go. In fact, anyone promoting socialism or communism should have their citizenship revoked and deported regardless of race. I know Todd in Colorado personally, Magdalene. He is as Colorado mountain boy, middle-class dude as you could possibly paint a picture of. He's not radical. He's not over-the-top crazy. I don't mean to say crazy, Todd. Pretty normal middle-class guy that's trying to raise a family and what have you here. If that's middle-class white America's sentiment, and he's a millennial, right? If that's the sentiment, it's getting bad out there, and people don't want to take it anymore. Now, I said that. I want to read some more comments. Yesterday, there was an election in Boston. So when I called daughter number 2 in Boston, and I said, swear to me, you're never going to ride the train by yourself again. She goes, Dad, that's why I bought a car. She goes, there are too many freaks and weirdos on the trains, and I was getting sick of it and afraid, so I bought a car. And she did. She bought a car. She goes, that's why I bought the car, so I don't have to take the train anymore. Then she said, but sometimes, it's just a couple of blocks. It's easier to hop on the T. And I said, just don't take it alone. And if you, God forbid, if you do, don't let your guard down. Don't be staring at your phone. Situational awareness. Go stand next to the biggest brute-looking football player, white guy you can find. Do you think the conversation, but she voted yesterday. She goes, there was a race here yesterday. I said, no, I didn't know. She goes, yeah, it was the mayor's primary. I said, oh, yeah? And I said, oh, that witch Michelle Wu, my daughter, who has been seeping and marinating in liberalism for 5 years now, and who repeats things to me, and I go like, who are you and what have you done with my South Louisiana conservative, beautiful little girl? You know what my daughter told me yesterday? When I said Michelle Wu, she went, ugh, that bleep. She goes, no, couldn't vote for her. She is the worst. She is the worst of the worst. And I said, well, your economy is like one of the worst in the U.S. now, and it's only going to get worse because between her and your stupid lesbo dimwit governor, anyone that would spend money and invest it in business in your state has either left or is going to leave. And then she tells me, she goes, well, you know what? I voted for this guy. And she says, her fiance, she said, he's applied for over 200 jobs in the last 2 months, and he's gotten this many offers.
0.0.
She's your age. So people your age that are in big cities are dealing with the fallout of socialism and stupid communism, and they're seeing that I can't survive. We're not going to be able to flourish. I hope the thought occurs to them they should leave that wretched city. But if that's my daughter, my kid's experience, I can't imagine that she's the only one that's like, screw Michelle Wu and the Michelle Wu types that is of your age.
No, she's not. And what people don't realize about Massachusetts, and I went to high school in Massachusetts, is that all the great things that happened in Massachusetts happened because of Republican governors. The idea that Massachusetts was going to be this educational hub for the elementary school and high school and everything because of Democrat leadership is ridiculous. It was Republican governors that increased education funding. It was Republican governors that made curriculum tougher across the state. That's what happened. And now Massachusetts is in a place of going down in quality because of the kinds of people that they have running it. And you also got Elizabeth Warren as a senator from there. It's a nightmare, not to mention the plethora of crazy congressmen who all want to be senators that get more and more aggressive every election cycle. Across the board in Massachusetts, they have a problem with high taxation. In order to do anything in Massachusetts, there's like 17 fines. And this is what people don't realize. They always say, oh, there's a great healthcare system, and there is a great statewide healthcare system, but you pay for it every day in everything you do.
Yep.
So is it really a great system if it takes all of your money? And that's something people don't want to address. And I always hear, well, it's a great place for college students. Right, because they make no money, and they have no property taxes, and they're not dealing with any of that. So it might be a great place for college students. But those rankings that say the best place to raise a kid in this country, Massachusetts comes out number one. That's only because of decades of Republican leadership. It has nothing to do with the current system.
No, and after Matty Walsh, so the last Republican was Charlie Baker. And he wasn't a friend to the Catholic. He was a Catholic, but he wasn't a friend to the Catholic Church. He wasn't a friend to babies. He wasn't a friend to the pro-life cause. He basically should have or could have been a Democrat, but he wasn't a Democrat when it came to fiscal sanity. Now you've had the last, so you have Maura Healey, and who was the lunatic before Maura Healey? This is the third mayor, so Matty Walsh, and now Michelle Wu, who is the Manchurian candidate. I don't care what anyone says. That woman needs to be deported. She is, and you know what? My daughter told me. My daughter says, "Dad, you've been to the Goodwill where I work. You know that area." I said, "Yeah." I said, "There's a reason they have a security fence up around." She goes, "Well, yeah. I mean, that's the area we're in." She goes, "Do you know how many times Michelle Wu has been to this area or been to visit this Goodwill?" And I said, "Let me guess.
0.0.
I said, "Reagan, she's a hypocrite. She doesn't care about you, and she certainly doesn't care about those beautiful people that you know, my daughter works with basically adult Down syndrome people. I don't know if you knew that. That's what she basically does. And I know all of them. They all know me by my name. They love it when I come visit. I come play radio games with them, and they, Mr. Mike. It's you know, you never meet an unhappy Down syndrome person or someone that, you know, is kind of has that kind of an issue they're dealing with in their life. But that's what my daughter works with, those kind of people. And she goes, and Michelle Wu has never been, and this is huge. They're the largest Goodwill distribution center on the East Coast of the United States. There's a warehouse there where they take in, you know, donations from all over New England, and they process them, and then they send them back out to Goodwill stores to be sold, right, as charitable giving. And they just happen to also have a huge place there where they care for those people of the Boston area. And she says, "Well, no. Michelle Wu has never been here." Why doesn't the rest of Democrat America know what fakes and what frauds these people are? Why doesn't the rest of Boston know what a fraud this witch is?
Well, I think because they have no pipeline to find it out. So when a Republican messes up, we are going to know about it because a bunch of Republican podcasters or Fox News, someone's going to complain about it.
Yep.
Because Republicans, we complain if someone betrays us because we don't have this like herd mentality in the same way. If a Democrat betrays another Democrat and it's not like a sort of giant thing, we're never going to know about it. And so Democrat corruption grows because they don't rat on each other, because they have no sense of decency to each other. They'll do whatever it takes. So, for example, someone like Menendez in New Jersey can get away with what he got away with for years and years. I'm sure every Democrat in the chamber knew. I'm sure everyone in the party knew. they were never going to really rat because they are all dirty. And that's the danger here, is that Democrats keep themselves into and control their media operations so much and only allow their media people to hate on Republicans that they never filter out the bad people. Whereas Republicans, we might fight a lot, but we filter out the bad people.
Well, there was a big hearing yesterday on autism, and I think we're probably going to get to the bottom of it. And if I'm reading in between the lines, I could tell you what's going to be in the RFK Jr. report that he is going to present to President Trump about what is causing autism. And I don't really have time to play it all because they're very long. But if we could, Maggie, can you just play... Cue up number 15, Dr. Toby Rogers, and just click a minute into it, and we'll just listen from a minute in. Because it's a 5-minute long clip, but every second of it is worth listening to. This is an indictment of the federal government of the United States and every state government that's gone along with it with the vaccine mandates for children. Here, listen.
Finally, the CDC pointed to advanced parental age, but the odds ratios were modest, and the increase in the proportion of older parents is insufficient to explain the surge in autism prevalence. Furthermore, the cost of autism was already in the hundreds of billions of dollars a year in the U.S., and yet government was not responding with a sense of urgency. I changed my doctoral thesis topic to the political economy of autism, and spent the next 4 years reading and analyzing nearly everything that's been written on autism prevalence, causation, and cost. In 2019, my thesis passed rigorous external peer review. It's now in the top 10 of the most downloaded doctoral research papers in the history of the University of Sydney. Since then, I've continued my research with Children's Health Defense, as an independent journalist, and as a fellow at Brownstone Institute. Here are the facts. In 1970, the first autism prevalence study in the U.S. found an autism rate of less than 1 in 10,000 children. According to a study by the EPA, sometime around 1987, the autism rate in the U.S. began to skyrocket. The most recent report from the CDC showed that 1 in 31 8-year-old children in the U.S. in 2022 were on the autism spectrum. That's a 32,158% increase in the last 52 years. 2 massive studies from the best epidemiologists in California show that changes in diagnostic criteria only explain a small fraction of the rise in autism prevalence. There are 22 studies that claim that vaccines don't cause autism. None of these studies have a completely unvaccinated control group. So unfortunately, if you want to understand what's causing the autism epidemic, these studies are of no use. Then there are 5 large genetic research projects: AGREE, SSC, ASC, MISSING, and SPARK. Together, they've produced 501 published papers. The search for the gene for autism has consumed over $2.3 billion, and researchers have almost nothing to show for it because genes don't suddenly create epidemics. The human genome just doesn't change that fast. Then there are 4 large epigenetic research projects, so genes in the environment: CHARGE, MARBLES, SEED, and EARLY. Combined, they've produced 437 publications that look at the effects of air pollution, pesticides, fluorinated substances, PCBs, nutritional factors, flame retardants, maternal metabolic conditions, and volatile organic compounds. None of these studies control for vaccines as a possible covariate or confounder, so it's impossible to know the true impact of these variables. The critical missing piece in autism research is vaccinated versus unvaccinated studies. Thankfully, there are now 6 good studies that we can rely on. Unfortunately, these studies have been systematically suppressed and ignored by the mainstream media and the medical establishment. 2 studies by Gallagher and Goodman show that the birth dose of the hepatitis B vaccine significantly increases autism risk. 3 studies by Anthony Mawson confirm that vaccination increases the odds of developing autism by at least 4.2-fold. Preterm birth, coupled with vaccination, increases the odds of neurodevelopmental disability by more than 12-fold compared to preterm birth without vaccination. And finally, a study by Hooker and Miller published in 2021 found that vaccination increases autism risk 5-fold. Vaccination in the absence of breastfeeding increases autism risk 12.5-fold. Vaccination in addition to C-section birth increases autism risk 18.7-fold. After conducting the systematic review of 1,000 studies,
Dr. Toby Rogers, the upshot of his testimony and others yesterday is a hammer is getting ready to be dropped. RFK Jr. is going to drop that. He's going to hand it to Trump, and he's going to say, you need to federally end. You need to executive order end all federal vaccine schedule mandates for children. That's what he's going to tell him. I am convinced that that's what he's going to tell him. I am also convinced that that's why Trump hired RFK Jr. for this unique moment in history. And the only person that will actually do what needs to be done, which is to kill the vaccine mandate schedule, not the vaccines, I think they should be killed as well, but kill the mandate, is Donald John Trump. Now, for those who go like, he doesn't have the stones. Yeah, did you see what he did today, Magdalene? He just signed an executive order banning the Chi-Coms from buying a square inch of American farmland and ordering that figure out how to raise the funds and buy every square inch that they have previously purchased back from them. Wow, that's happening. By the way, thanks to Chris Caporelletti and to Ann and Tom Dolan for your contributions. Thank you very much. Keep them coming, folks. CrusadeChannel.com/donate. And Magdalene.
I think one of the biggest.
Go ahead.
Well, I was going to say, I think one of the things with Trump and autism is that Trump has never really taken a position one way or the other. But he was frustrated even in 2016 on the debate stage in the primaries with the fact that no one was allowed to question anything. And to him, the loss of young life is just, he can't cope with it. He can't deal with it. It's one of the reasons I think he's so involved in the Russia-Ukraine war, is because of the loss of young life across the board on both sides. And I think for Trump, the people who have been his most ardent supporters are people who want to know the truth of what happens to their children. So in a lot of ways, to me, RFK was him paying back the people who supported him for so long and took the hits, particularly the sort of women who were very involved in homeschooling and health-centered things. RFK always felt like he was delivering on a promise to people that he had made to make them know that he did care about what was happening to children. Just because he's not the education president doesn't mean he's not the president for children.
I agree, and there's a lot happening today. We'll keep track of all of it. Magdalene Rose, our political affairs contributor, thank you very much. See you tomorrow.
Thank you.
Folks, CrusadeChannel.com/donate. We're nowhere near where we need to be for this week, so thanks to all of you who have made your contributions. If news breaks out, we'll break in. It's been a very long and productive day here. We'll see you tomorrow. God bless you. Merry keep you.
I'm going away, babe, and it won't be long.